What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. First Chapter 1 Major? Not enough, I want to be an admiral?
Naval Headquarters Marineford, in the square, Crescent Bay Port. Sengoku, Garp, Aokiji and other senior executives rarely gathered at the port. This made many passing Rear Admiral, Vice Admiral and other generals feel surprised and curious.
Hey, what happened? Why are the high-level officials gathered together? I guess some big shots are coming to Naval Headquarters. Could this formation, be Celestial Dragons? No Rear Admiral leaders nodded slightly when they heard this. It was most likely the Celestial Dragons. The Celestial Dragons are the highest nobles in the world, and even the Marine Admiral must obey their orders. If not Celestial Dragons, who else could have such a lineup? Just when all the generals thought it was the Celestial Dragons, a warship passed through the Gate of Justice and slowly arrived at the port. Seeing the warship's ladder coming down, the Rear Admiral leaders all became serious, raised their heads and raised their chests, getting ready to welcome the important guests. Celestial Dragons are arrogant and domineering, and if they are neglected, the consequences will be disastrous. However, what all the generals present did not expect was that the first person who caught their eyes was a young man about 15 or 16 years old. The young man stood on the ladder, yawning, as if he hadn't woken up yet. Some of the more powerful generals below could still see tears squeezing out of the corners of the young man's eyes. The generals looked at each other and stood up non-committal for a moment. The boy is a Celestial Dragons? Most likely not. Celestial Dragons wear special clothes and must be protected by CP agents. Judging from the above, the boy is definitely not a Celestial Dragons. Since Celestial Dragons, who is this boy? What kind of identity will bring the high-level officials together? I don't know, I've never seen it before. Hey, do you think this boy looks like Akainu Admiral? When you put it like that, we really feel that we have a bit of a resemblance, except for our lazy temperament. It feels even more outrageous than Aokiji Admiral. On the warship, after the young man yawned, he seemed to realize that there were so many people there. He raised his eyebrows slightly, and then raised his hand to say hello to the Marines below. Hi. Below, all the sailors looked at each other in confusion. Isn't this young man too frivolous? At this moment, a burly figure appeared behind the young man. Congratulations, it's Admiral Akainu. I saw Akainu with a dark face, raised his hand and slapped the boy on the back of the head, and said in an educational tone. You traitor. Be normal and don't embarrass your father and me. Rebellious son. Below, the generals were surprised for a moment, and then suddenly came over. It turns out that the young man in front of him is the son of Admiral Akainu. The general also understood the reason for the high-level gathering. Firstly, it was to give face to Akainu, the strongest admiral in the world, and secondly, he was curious about what would happen to the descendants of such a strong man as Akainu. But the first impression of Akainu's son is really... If Akainu Admiral hadn't spoken, I wouldn't have believed that this was Akainu Admiral's descendant. Indeed, his personality is nothing like that of Akainu Admiral.
And he doesn't seem to have any strength at all, and he looks like he's just careless. Compared with other high-level descendants or apprentices, the gap is huge. Absolutely at the bottom in every aspect. Quote. Ahead, Sengoku, Garp and other senior officials are also looking at Akainu's descendants. Originally, everyone was looking forward to Akainu's descendants. How bad will the descendants educated by this powerful and self-disciplined man be?
However, after seeing Akainu's descendants, everyone was filled with disappointment.
It's okay to be ordinary, but his words and deeds are still so frivolous and lazy. Oh, this kid is so well protected by Sakazuki. Kizaru murmured with a pout.
On the side, Sengoku, Garp and others nodded slightly, agreeing with Kizaru's words. It's hard to imagine that Sakazuki was so strict and could raise a child with such a character.
Heihuan stood with his hands in hand, and after pondering for a few seconds, he said, I finally know why Sakazuki suddenly wants his children to join the army.
Most likely it's to change his child's character. Everyone around them nodded slightly again, thinking that this was the case. As an admiral, Akainu is busy with official duties and has very little time to educate his children.
If you want to change your child's lazy personality, joining the military is the best way.
Soon, Akainu brought the boy to Sengoku and others.
Sengoku and the others stopped talking and started greeting Xiaohei and Akainu's descendants. What's your name? Garp asked curiously. Shane said weakly. He didn't want to join the army at all, he just wanted to be a salted fish at home. After all, the world of pirates is too dangerous, and joining the army means you may die at any time. Shane is a time traveler who accidentally fell down the stairs while collecting rent for his family. When he opened his eyes, he came to the world of pirates. Shane was frightened at first. The world of pirates is extremely dangerous. He traveled through time and became a 16-year-old child. Is this a way to die young?
Fortunately, Shane quickly activated his cheat, Super Template, and unlocked one of the Super Defense attributes.
What makes Shane most happy is that it is very easy to improve the Super Defense attribute. You only need to enjoy the sun every day to improve it on your own.
Years of living as a rent collector have given Shane a bad temperament, and Cheat's promotion method is undoubtedly in line with his personality. In addition to Cheat, Shane, who was fused with memories, discovered that his father was actually Marine's strongest contemporary Admiral Akainu.
With the double assurance of Cheat and a strong father, Shane no longer has any worries.
From then on, Shane basked in the sun every day and waited to die on his father Akainu's salary. Until a few days ago, the super defense attribute had reached the top. But because he has never taken action before, Shane doesn't know how strong he is, but his intuition tells him that he is very strong now.
Unfortunately, the calm was broken. After Akainu took the time to go back to visit Shane, he immediately dragged Shane to Naval Headquarters.
Hence the opening scene. Soon Sengoku interrupted Shane's thoughts and heard him say to Akainu,
Sakazuki, what are your plans? Akainu glanced at Shane from the corner of his eye and said in a non-committal tone, just let him start from the grassroots level. Shane curled his lips calmly. He was going to refuse and apply to the logistics department.
However, at this moment, the system voice in my mind sounded.
Quest. Become a Marine Admiral to unlock new attributes. Close black lens bracket.
Shane raised his eyebrows slightly. Good guy. It turns out that there is a task to activate the new, big super, attribute. If I had told you earlier, it would have cost me so much time to study it.
After hearing this, Sengoku nodded clearly. Since Akainu has captured his own child to serve as a soldier, it is to change this boy's mediocre problem.
Letting him start from the grassroots level is undoubtedly the best choice. But after all, Akainu is also the strongest admiral in the contemporary era. Sengoku paused and said, assign a major to Shane. It can be considered a grassroots level. Sengoku plans to give Akainu some face. However, before Akainu could speak, Shane was the first to interject. Major, Marshal, this position is not enough. I want to be an admiral. Please give me flowers, please comment, please add to your collection. Chapter 2 You can attack at will. If I get hurt, I lose. As soon as Shane's words came out, everyone was stunned. The next second the whole audience burst into laughter. Are my ears bad? This little guy says he wants to be an admiral? Ha ha ha, yes, he did say he wanted to be an admiral. I can only say that Tong Yan Wu Ji is the best. Not to mention, this is quite like Akainu Admiral. He threatened to become an admiral on the first day. There's nothing wrong with having dreams, but it's not good to aim too high. Some generals just treat it as fun, but some generals take it seriously. It was only because of the presence of Admiral Akainu that I didn't say anything. When they heard that Sengoku was going to give Shane the title of Major, many people felt uncomfortable. Why? Why give the title of Major to this brat who has no strength, no momentum, and is just a fool? Just because he is a descendant of Akainu? Are you kidding me? These people are working hard to improve their strength every day, and many of them don't even have titles now. People like myself are much better than Akainu's sons. Later, after hearing Shane say, Major is not enough, I want to be Admiral, these people sneered in their hearts. To be honest, they felt that if Shane wasn't a descendant of Akainu Admiral, he wouldn't even be qualified to join Marine with his careless appearance. Still want to be an admiral? Do you really think that because your father is an admiral, you can be unscrupulous in the military? Ahead, Sengoku, Garp, he and others were dumbfounded by Shane's words. Kizaru said, Yo, and said calmly, you said you wanted to be an admiral earlier than your father. Aokiji yawned and said in a deep voice, Yeah, this kind of thing is not suitable for joking. Garp laughed, Wow haha, it's good that the little devil has a dream. He thought of his grandson, who said, I want to be the Pirate King's man, every day. Besides Shane, Akainu was speechless. How could he give birth to such a son? How lazy are you at home? Don't you have any idea? It is precisely because of this that when I took the time to go home, I was so angry that I dragged Shane to join the army. But even if Shane practices hard at home, he can't be an admiral just because he wants to. Akainu raised his hand and slapped Shane on the back of the head again, saying coldly, Shut up. You can eat randomly, but you can't talk randomly. Sengoku and the others laughed. Children, it's normal to be ignorant and talk nonsense. Don't hit people on the back of the head every day. As a woman, he still cares very much about children. Everyone thought it was a child's joke. Akainu is still sullen, and he has no intention of giving it to Major Shane. Otherwise, many soldiers will definitely be dissatisfied. This will not be good for Shane's future development in the military. The descendants of other high-level officials may have basically worked their way up from the grassroots level, such as his granddaughters, Peacock, and Kebi. These people have worked hard and have been recognized by many soldiers. Akainu feels this is conducive to Shane's development. Thinking of this, Akainu planned to refuse the major position arranged by Sengoku. But before he could speak, Shane spoke again. I saw Shane let out a big yawn, then smacked his mouth and then said, I'm not kidding, I really want to be an admiral. Sengoku, Garp and others looked at each other and raised their eyebrows. Why are Akainu's children so stubborn and disobedient? Shane, Admiral needs to have absolute strength, do you have it? Don't talk about Admiral, if you were just lazy at home, any soldier here can beat you and make you cry. Akainu on the side was really angry, and his tone was sullen. This is the military, not a place for a little brat like you to mess around. Faced with his angry father, Shane showed no fear. He stretched, ignored his cheap father, swayed and looked around, and said lazily. Since Admiral needs strength, then I will show my strength. Anyone here can attack me. If I get any injury, even a superficial injury, I lose. On the other hand, Marshal, give me an Admiral. When Shane said this, he looked at Sengoku. Shane's words stunned everyone in Marine present. Everyone's expressions started to look weird. This kid is really protected by Akainu a little too much. A total giant baby. Once he spoke rudely, everyone thought the child was ignorant. But being rude over and over again is enough. Do you really think that since you, lousy, are Admiral, no one here would dare to hurt you? Akainu felt that many Marine generals from all over the world were dissatisfied with Shane's behavior, and he felt irritable in his heart. His own son had just arrived at Naval Headquarters and yet he had embarrassed himself so much. Akainu now wants to teach Shane a lesson. There is no need for others to take action, just take it as a lesson. Akainu said with a straight face, Shane, lousy will teach you another lesson today. When you go out, you should be low-key in everything you do and don't be too ostentatious. Besides, you don't have the capital to show off. After saying that, Akainu raised his leg and kicked Shane accurately in the abdomen. With a muffled, bang, sound, Shane flew backwards and his back hit the ground hard. Sengoku, Garp, Kizaru and Aokiji and other senior executives looked at each other and were speechless for a moment. I have to say, Akainu is really ruthless, he is so harsh on his own children. However, Sengoku and others can also understand Akainu's intention. What Shane did just now made many soldiers present dislike him. Akainu's kick can eliminate many people's grudges. As expected, the surrounding area has relaxed a lot, and I feel comfortable inside. Even many soldiers sympathized with Shane. Is Akainu's kick likely to break a few of Shane's ribs? It hurts to look at it. I have to say, Akainu Admiral is really cruel. You are so cruel to your own son. Even if the bones are not broken, there is a high probability that he will need to lie in the infirmary for a few days. But just as people were thinking this, Shane suddenly stood up.
He stood up and complained. Father, you can take action as soon as you take action, but can you tell me in advance? Scared me. Shane was speechless. Although the absolute defense attribute in his super template reached the full level, other attributes were not unlocked. My cheap old man suddenly kicked me, and I couldn't react at all. The generals around looked at Shane who stood up again. They were all stunned and surprised in their hearts. This kid can actually stand up. It seems like nothing happened at all. What's going on?
Are you trying to show off on purpose? Or is it that Akainu Admiral's kick just now seemed to be powerful, but in fact it was not powerful at all? At this time, the T-Dolphin in the crowd said angrily, how is it possible that you don't have strength? The T-Dolphin is known as the Admiral candidate, and his strength is naturally not weak. So he could clearly see that Akainu Admiral's kick was real. Even veterans who have been in the army for several years have to lie down for a long time without holding back at all. Now that Shane is standing up with someone who is okay, it shows that Shane does have something. Ads by Bid Gear Chapter 3. Are you qualified? Not enough to go together. The T-Dolphin is an Admiral candidate and Vice Admiral and is important in the military. When he said this, everyone present was surprised. That means Akainu Admiral didn't hold back at all. Shane is not as miserable as he thought. This performance, in terms of resisting beatings, I'm afraid it surpasses many veterans. To be honest, I still feel a little unbelievable. After all, Shane's casual attitude just now didn't give any indication of what this guy is capable of. Ahead, Sengoku, Garp and other Marine senior executives were also a little surprised. As strong men, they naturally knew that Akainu's kick just now used real force. Kizaru said, yo, and said, Sakazuki's son still has something. Aokiji nodded slightly. I also made a mistake. Looking at it now, it's not that bad. The two veterans Sengoku and Garp were also deeply surprised. It seems that this guy Shane still practices, too, after all, he's Akainu's son. But Akainu's surprise goes deeper than the others. My heart is full of disbelief. Shane actually has this kind of defense? As Shane's father, Akainu knows his son very well. He didn't practice at all, let alone practice. Even if he was asked to move, he didn't bother to move. Lying on the beach and soaking up the sun all day long. At this time, Shane had returned to Akainu. When he saw Akainu looking at him, he spoke. Father, to save time, just use your full strength. After a pause, Shane scratched his head and said, there's no problem with using the Devil Fruit ability. No problem using the Devil Fruit ability? I'll go, kid. Do you know that your father's Devil Fruit ability is the most destructive in the army? Among the sailors, someone couldn't help shouting. When Shane heard this, he turned around and said casually, he's my father after all. Of course I know. Then you still... Shane interrupted directly, because I want to be an admiral, so I'm not afraid. Shane's words immediately silenced the entire audience, and everyone looked at each other in shock. This guy is too. Pretending, right? Indeed, Shane's performance just now shows that he has some strength. But it would be too much to ask Akainu to use the fruit's power. It can be said that you are too proud. Akainu was also extremely speechless. He gritted his teeth. If Shane wasn't his son, Akainu would definitely hit Shane in the face with a dark hound, without saying anything. After thinking about it, Akainu decided to teach Shane a lesson. Otherwise, this kid is too ignorant. Akainu raised his chin slightly and said angrily, "Are you ready this time?" Shane smiled brightly and nodded his head. Akainu narrowed his eyes, pondered for 2 seconds and then said in a deep voice, "Shane, when the time comes, a large area of your body will be burned. Don't blame you, Lousy and me." In fact, Akainu was also curious about where his son was. Simply give it a try. Without further ado, red suddenly appeared on Akainu's arm. The moment the magma appeared, blazing heat suddenly became the main theme. The high temperatures also distort the air. Seeing this scene, many soldiers around were stunned, and their hearts beat wildly. "I'll go. Is Akainu Admiral serious? Once Shane can't resist, people will die. Just, aren't you afraid of ending up in the future?" Sengoku, Garp and other senior executives were also shocked. "Sakazuki, the child is playing nonsense. Do you, as a father, take it seriously?" Crane stopped him. "Almost done." Garp nodded slightly and agreed, "Even you have to be careful about your punch using Devil Fruit's ability. Shane is still a little kid, it will be bad if something happens to him later." No one present felt that Shane could withstand Akainu's punch using his Devil Fruit ability. This is known as the most destructive Devil Fruit in the military. However, Shane saw his father using Devil Fruit powers. Not only was there no fear, but his eyes turned into star eyes, looking very curious. Sengoku, Garp and others were suddenly speechless. Does this mean that the Emperor is not in a hurry, but the eunuch is?
Shane ignored the people around him. After seeing the novelty of superpowers, for the first time, he regained his casual demeanor.
Then he waved to Akainu and said, "Father, I'm ready." Akainu raised his eyebrows, and then said, "Then I'm not welcome." The reason why Akainu dared to use Devil Fruit's ability to attack his son was because he had a sense of caution. If Shane can't resist, he will stop instantly and restrain his Devil Fruit ability. Shane suffered partial burns at most, which were not life-threatening. Akainu thinks this development is a good thing and can teach Shane a lesson. Maybe his current personality can be changed, or the personality he shows today. When the time comes to face the enemy, I won't even know how to die. Better to be injured than dead. While thinking about this, Akainu's fist of magma wrapped in heat waves was already exhaled. Everyone around Rear Admiral held their breath when they saw this scene. It's as if I saw Shane's next tragic situation. Although senior officials such as Sengoku and Garp felt that something was wrong, since Akainu chose to take action, it was hard for them to say anything. And they also believe in Akainu's strength. After developing Devil Fruit for so long, Akainu should be measured. The fist of magma hit Shane's abdomen with heat waves. Akainu is focused on ultimate. If there is any problem, he will instantly withdraw his fist and withdraw his Devil Fruit ability. However, the next second, the magma fist hit Shane firmly on the abdomen. Until this time, Akainu had not felt that Shane was not good enough. On the contrary, he felt as if he had hit an indestructible iron wall. The high temperature of the magma kept burning Shane's abdomen, but it was powerless and had no effect at all. Akainu suddenly raised his head and looked at Shane with a calm expression in disbelief. Is this the son I know? Everyone around was stunned by this scene. Silence. The whole place fell into silence. The only thing left was Shane's extremely bright smile. He looked at Akainu and said, "Father, am I qualified to be an admiral now?" But what responded to Shane was not words, but Akainu's violent shout, "Dark Hound." This is one of Akainu's most destructive moves, with extremely powerful explosive power. In the original work, Akainu used this move to crush half of Whitebeard's head. The terrifying magma spews out, like an unstoppable roaring beast. The heat wave is stronger and the magma is more turbulent. Everyone around felt fear in their hearts. But Akainu's explosive and terrifying blows were still blocked by Shane. Under the red light, Shane's calm face was still there. Just listen to Shane smile brightly again and say, "Is it qualified enough? If that's not enough, the rest of you can come too." Ads by Bid Gear Chapter 4. Hockey is above everything? You sure? A bolt from the blue. At this moment, everyone present seemed to be struck by 5 thunders and froze in place. Oh my god. What did I see? Akainu Admiral's Dark Hound was also resisted. Are you kidding me? Are you sure Akainu Admiral didn't release the water? Even if Akainu Admiral releases the water, you go up and try. No one said a word. Indeed, even if water is released, the high temperature of the magma is enough to melt everything. The magma of Akainu Admiral is still touching Shane now. All I saw was that the redness kept burning Shane's abdomen. Shane's clothes were reduced to ashes under the high temperature, but his body was not harmed at all. Red wanted to go further and enter Shane's body, but it ended up flowing to the ground. Let the earth make a whining sound. Is this still the careless Shane they just remembered, without any strength or momentum? You won't know if you don't show it, but you will be shocked when you show it. It's a blockbuster. What? What a terrifying defense. Crane's voice became sharp. It was only at this moment that senior executives such as Sengoku, Garp, and Aokiji recovered from the shock of the scene. It's really scary. Kizaru's expression was no longer calm, and cold sweat broke out on his forehead. This is not just as simple as horror. Garp's face changed drastically, and his face was filled with disbelief and deep confusion. Sakazuki, is your son a monster? He didn't even use hockey. Garp almost yelled. These words made everyone realize it. In an instant, everyone present was once again deeply shocked. Damn it. We actually ignored this. Sengoku lost his temper. Shane, this guy resisted the lava with his body alone. Are you kidding? Aokiji's face lost all expression and his eyes widened. I'm afraid even Mr. Garp can't do this. Yo, Kizaru's expression added a bit of shock. Is this physique enough to compete with Kaido of the Beast's strongest creature, physique? The senior officials were silent. They all felt that they were afraid that it was going too far. Sakazuki, how is your boy doing? Garp couldn't help but ask Akainu. All eyes were on Akainu, eager to know the answer. How is this practiced, or did you eat a special devil fruit? Akainu faced the longing eyes and was speechless in his heart. Want an answer from me? I don't know the answer myself? Lousy is no less surprised than you are. However, due to face reasons, Akainu did not answer like this. If you say you don't know, doesn't it mean that you are very incompetent as a father?
So Akainu pretended to be calm, coughed dryly, looked at Shane and said in a deep voice. Shane, tell others yourself how you were able to withstand my attack. The eyes immediately shifted from Akainu to Shane. Faced with the gazes, Shane yawned and said, it's very simple.
I just bask in the sun every day, and my defense naturally improves.
Quote. The entire audience was silent, speechless, and all the eyes in the audience turned malicious.
Damn it, Akainu Admiral's kid is so annoying. From the first impression to the current performance, it has never been likable. If you don't want to say it, just say it. Why use this excuse to fool us? Do you really think we are fools? Can sun exposure improve defense?
Doesn't that mean the whole world is strong? Shane also saw the speechlessness in his eyes, and he suddenly felt very aggrieved. Everything I said is true. Not fake at all. Obviously just basking in the sun. My absolute defense has reached the top level. Never mind. The joys and sorrows between people are not the same. Shane was too lazy to continue explaining. He looked at his father, Sengoku and others and said. How to say? Do you want to try it too? Although Sengoku, Garp and others were speechless at Shane's answer that he would become stronger if he was exposed to the sun. However, he did not continue to ask. It was obvious that Shane didn't want to tell himself and others the real answer.
Whatever. Everyone has their own secrets, or trump cards.
There is no need to pursue this matter to the end, as long as it is known that Shane is now affiliated with Marine. No longer worrying about this, everyone is interested in Shane's strength.
The first impression Shane gave everyone was not very good before, but now no one looks down on Shane anymore. Even though Shane looks lazy and careless, resisting Akainu's Dark Hound is enough to explain everything. It would be rude to look down on him.
Yo, Kizaru raised his toed glasses and said, Shane, let me come and meet you. Look how scary you are. Shane bared his teeth. To save time, you'd better come together. Shane's response was a dazzling golden light. Oh, boy Shane, you really look down on me. Have you ever been kicked at the speed of light? In the blink of an eye, Kizaru was in front of Shane. At the same time, Kizaru's long legs had been raised and lowered towards Shane's face.
The speed was so fast that the golden tail flame was directly dragged out. Shane's face was covered in golden light, so dazzling that he couldn't open his eyes. As the golden light fell, an extremely terrifying power poured out on Shane's face.
Speed is power. Shane was thrown backwards by the huge force, and his whole body hit the ground hard.
The ground suddenly cracked, sinking into a huge deep pit. Many people around were shocked. Kizaru's attack feels much more powerful than Akainu's attack.
Is Shane still alive? Quote. Many eyes were focused on the dusty pits. In the pothole, Shane touched his nose. I was startled again. Kizaru's speed prevented Shane from seeing clearly.
However, the top attribute of big super appearance, absolute defense, prevented Shane from being injured. Speaking of which, Kizaru's strength is not weaker than Akainu's, especially combined with the speed of sparkling fruit. The power he unleashes is even more terrifying than Akainu's.
Outside world. Others don't know Shane's life or death, but strong men like Kizaru and Aokiji can feel it.
Oh, it's really scary. It looks like there's no injury at all.
Kizaru sighed inwardly. Shane's defense is really terrifying.
At this time, Aokiji walked out. Let me try it.
However, it was blocked by Garp. Garp geared up and said to Aokiji, go aside, Kuzan.
Your abilities are not very powerful. Let me try my Iron Fist. As he spoke, Garp raised his chin slightly. You know, hockey is above everything else.
Adds by Bid Gear. Chapter 5, a monster that even Garp cannot shake.
Aokiji actually wants to say, his hockey is not weak either. After all, the teacher comes from Garp, but seeing how eager Garp was to try, Aokiji simply gave up. Whatever. Let Mr. Garp do it. How can I say that Garp's hockey is considered a ceiling-level presence in the military?
If it doesn't work for him, there's no need for anyone else to try using hockey.
The shocked exclamations of the generals sounded all around. Still no injuries at all. What a monster. Among the descendants and apprentices of high-ranking officials, Shane should be considered number one now, right? What do you mean? Just be number one. No, the descendants and apprentices of other high-level officials are not qualified to compete with Shane.
Shane is now targeting. It's already at the Admiral level.
The direction where everyone focused their attention was on Shane walking out of the pothole. The clothes on his body were already in tatters and covered in dust, making Shane look extremely embarrassed. However, Shane's body was not injured at all. Garp bared his teeth. Shane, your performance surprised us. Even if you can't resist my fist next time, you are still the strongest among the younger generation. Shane sneered after hearing this. He didn't rush to answer. Instead, he dusted himself off and then said, Vice Admiral Garp, I have no interest in the strongest of the younger generation. What interests me is to withstand your punch and then serve as Marine Admiral. After Garp heard this, he immediately laughed out loud. Wow, ha ha ha. Kid, I'm really curious, how on earth did you manage to say such powerful words with such a careless face? The most important thing is that I didn't feel any violation at all. Shane didn't know how to answer this question. He had no choice but to shrug his shoulders in response to Garp's words. Garp didn't mind either. He raised his eyebrows and bared his teeth in a smile.
Shane the devil, I will not show mercy. If you get hurt, don't blame me. While speaking, Garp's whole body's aura erupted. In an instant, a powerful aura spurted out of his body, and Garp's entire temperament changed. He stood there like a towering mountain. Along with it, black thunder flashed and intertwined around him.
Not only that, Garp's fist seemed to be stained with ink, turning extremely black.
Many people around him swallowed their saliva. The aura of dominating the world. This is the former Marine hero. How scary. Everyone is looking at Shane. Under Garp's momentum, Shane was like a boat in a storm, and could be overturned at any time. Are you ready, Shane? Garp said loudly. Shane nodded slightly and just raised his fingers, signaling Garp to come over. Kid, you are really unpleasant. After Garp finished speaking, his eyes suddenly changed and became filled with endless tyranny.
Immediately, he jumped up, and the ground under his feet was suddenly cracked by his steps. Galaxy. Black thunder exploded above Garp's fist in midair. Rear Admiral leaders all around took a breath of cold air. Powerful. Too strong. Many recruits were even more shocked.
Although Garp, a veteran, has taken many shots over the years, this was the first time he had used his full strength today. Like a god of war. This is a veteran from the old era. Garp's burst of power shocked the entire audience.
Many people couldn't help but look at Shane and compare him to Garp. Shane is like an egg and Garp is like a giant mountain.
Aren't you going to run? Everyone felt that Shane should run away, otherwise he would die. It's probably too late to run now. The whole audience held their breath.
In midair, Garp slammed his fist down, fistbone.
At this moment, everyone felt that it was not a fist, but a terrifying meteorite.
The meteorite falls, heading straight for Shane.
Boom. The two sides came into contact, and an explosion suddenly resounded in all directions. The power of this punch set off a hurricane, and many weaker sailors were blown backwards. Shane's location suddenly turned into a burst of ruins, with thick smoke rising everywhere.
When everything calmed down, everyone looked at it suddenly, eager to know the result.
Is Akainu Admiral going to die? The first thing that caught everyone's eyes was a huge pothole. When they saw this pothole, many people took a breath. Vice Admiral Garp's punch is so terrifying. However, when everyone saw the scene under the huge pothole, they exclaimed.
Resist, resist. You were able to resist such a terrifying punch.
This, the strongest defense in the army. Quote. At the bottom of the pit, Garp's fist was pressed against Shane's abdomen.
But Shane was still standing proudly, with no other changes except that his clothes were more tattered.
Still unscathed, Garp looked at Shane in front of him in astonishment, so shocked that he was speechless. He subconsciously retracted his fist, then looked down at his fist, and then fell into deep contemplation.
Garp doubts life. Above. He breathed out slowly, trying to calm the turmoil in his heart. However, the storm could not calm down. He couldn't help but look at Akainu and said, Sakazuki, how did you teach your son to practice? Kizaru, Aokiji and others also looked at Akainu, and they all wanted to know.
If you can teach it to your descendants or apprentices, that would be great.
Akainu is in bad shape again, he really doesn't know. Before, with Shane around, he was able to push the problem onto his son.
Shane isn't around now. After coughing dryly, Akainu stammered, get some more sunshine.
Shane does bask in the sun at the beach every day. As for practicing?
Akainu has never seen it before. Crane, Kizaru. Aokiji. Sakazuki, if you don't want to say it, just say it's a secret. Why bother using such ridiculous excuses to frustrate us? He said angrily.
Don't imitate your son's immoral behavior. Akainu is in bad shape again. What does it mean for me to imitate Shane?
Lousy learns from his own boy. This sounds so awkward. Ads by Bid Gear. Chapter 6 Geringer. Akainu's son. If you want to be an admiral, try blocking my sword. Shane and Garp walked out of the pothole at this time. Eyes focused on Shane. No Marine here dared to think that Shane was weak.
Everyone was impressed by this young man's talent. Resisting the attacks of the 3 top warriors in the army was enough to convince everyone. Faced with the various looks from everyone around him, Shane didn't pay too much attention. Now he just wants to complete the mission quickly and unlock new, super, attributes.
Soon Shane came to Sengoku, looked at Sengoku and said calmly, Marshal, am I qualified? If that's not enough, you can do it yourself. After these few attempts, Shane also has a certain understanding of his top super defense.
The top level has definitely reached the 4 Emperors level.
Sengoku waved his hands repeatedly and said with a smile on his face, that's enough.
There's no need to keep trying. After saying that, Sengoku sighed, oh my god, repeatedly. He looked at Shane like he was looking at a rare treasure.
Unexpectedly, Akainu's son was so powerful. The key is that he is only 16 years old now. How will he grow up at such a young age in the future?
Sengoku believes that if nothing unexpected happens, Shane will definitely grow into a top player who can shock the entire sea.
The god of war in Marine. Shane had no idea what Sengoku was thinking. He wouldn't pay attention to this. Since Sengoku said there was no need to continue trying, he said. Then Marshal, give me the title of Admiral now. Shane said leisurely. I don't know what other attributes I will unlock in the big super template.
Shane hopes to be able to fly, because flying is every man's dream. This is natural, but it still needs to be approved by the 5 elders.
Sengoku patiently explained to Shane. Specifically, the admiral position cannot be appointed unilaterally by Marshal Marine. It also needs to be assessed and approved by 5 elders. After all, Admiral is not only a facade issue for Marine, but also a prestige issue for the world government. Shane raised his eyebrows after hearing this. He originally thought he could unlock new attributes immediately.
Sure enough, the ideal is very full and the reality is very backbone.
Seeing Shane raise his eyebrows, Sengoku was afraid that Shane would find it troublesome and not join Marine later. He quickly confirmed and said, Shane, you can rest assured that with the strength you showed today, there will definitely be no problem with the 5 elders. Sengoku said firmly, he would not let go of Shane, a monster with extraordinary talents and a bright future. Shane was not affected at all and said bluntly, Marshal, when are we going to meet the 5 elders?
Sengoku laughed when he heard this. Now, with a loud laugh, Sengoku set off and said, I'm going to apply for an emergency meeting with the 5 elders. Holy place Marijoy. The journey from Naval Headquarters to Marijoy is not long, and soon Marine senior executives arrived. Between rites, Sengoku brought Shane, Garp and other Marine senior executives inside. The 5 elders have been waiting for a long time. In addition to the 5 elders, there is also the commander of the Knights of God.
Seeing Geringer, Akainu frowned slightly. Something unpleasant happened between him and this guy before. Soon Sengoku and others came to 5 elders and others. Among them, the Technological Defense Marshal God, sitting in the center of Sarden was the first to speak. Sengoku, what happened when you suddenly applied for a meeting this time?
The other 5 elders looked at Marine and others solemnly.
Sengoku not only urgently applied for a meeting, but also brought most of the top military officials, fearing that something terrible would happen. Report to the elders. Sengoku took a few steps forward, then bowed slightly and spoke. The reason why I urgently applied to meet with the elders is because there is a strong man in the army who is qualified to serve as admiral. After hearing this, the 5 elders looked at each other with surprise and interest on their faces.
The emergence of a strong admiral-level man in the military is a good thing for both Marine and the world government. Where is that strong man? Elder Nisholong asked directly.
The other elders also expressed curiosity and expectation. Sengoku didn't waste any time and turned around and said, Shane, come out and meet the 5 elders. As soon as they finished speaking, the 5 elders saw a young man walking out from behind the Marines. After arriving next to Sengoku, the young man raised his hand, said, Yo, to the 5 elders, and made a move. Seeing Shane appear, the 5 elders, Geringer, and others had expressions as weird as possible, and they all frowned. What's going on? Is this kid what Sengoku calls a strong person? Do not make jokes. Elder Ma's tone was impatient and he asked Sengoku, Sengoku. What do you mean? Elder Satan's tone on the other side was filled with impatience and sullenness. It's rare for us to find time. You want us to watch you go crazy. Geringer, who was sitting on the single sofa beside him, crossed his legs and sneered again and again. I'm afraid this kid's fur isn't even fully grown yet, right? Neither the 5 elders nor Geringer believed that a kid was capable of taking on the admiral. Faced with the doubt, Sengoku had already expected it. He said solemnly, Elders, Commander, I am not kidding. Despite his young age, Shane's strength and talent are at the level of a monster. After a pause, Sengoku organized a conversation and told the 5 elders and Geringer about how Shane had resisted the attack of Akainu, Kizaru and Garp when he was at the headquarters. At the end, Sengoku raised his voice and said loudly, Shane faced the attacks of 3 top powerhouses and did not suffer any harm.
As soon as these words came out, the 5 elders' hearts moved slightly, and a look of surprise appeared on their faces. Real or fake? This kid can withstand the attacks of 3 top powerhouses?
If the 5 elders didn't know Sengoku and the character of Marshal Marine, he would never lie to them. They would all think it was a big joke. Both the 5 elders and Geringer took a deep look at Shane. Sengoku continued, Elders, Shane is not only powerful. Secondly, there is no problem with his background, because he is Sakazuki's son.
Sakazuki's son? Everyone in the 5 elders was surprised and subconsciously looked at Akainu.
Akainu faced the 5 elders' gazes, straightened his back slightly, and then replied. Elders, Shane is indeed my son. Saying this, Akainu felt extremely proud.
The 5 elders looked at each other and fell into deep thought.
This kid is Sakazuki's son, and there is indeed no problem with his background. The only thing now is to determine whether this kid really has the strength to take on the role of Admiral, as Sengoku said. At this moment, Geringer, who was sitting on the single sofa, stood up. He looked at the Marines, and stayed on Akainu for 2 seconds. Finally, he looked at Sengoku and said, Sengoku, these are just your words. Whether this kid really has the level of strength you mentioned, I will know by personal verification. I will use my sword. If I can withstand this sword, then this brat can serve as Admiral. Akainu frowned. This guy doesn't deal with him, and now that he knows that Shane is his descendant, he plans to take action, which is definitely not a good thing. He was about to say something, but Shane already responded, no problem. After saying that, Shane walked out of the crowd slowly. Geringer found this interesting. He raised his head slightly and said, Boy, you are very brave. I hope you can still maintain this courage later. Geringer stepped forward and came to Shane. Then he slowly pulled out the sword from his waist, accompanied by the sound of iron friction. The moment the sword was unsheathed, the sword's energy was wanton and overwhelming. Adds by Bid Gear. Chapter 7 Gain New Attributes. Super Power.
The entire hall was filled with Geilinger's overwhelming sword intent.
Well deserved. Absolute king. Geringer was quite surprised when he saw Shane's expression still unchanged.
Does this kid have no fear? Or is it because of ignorance that leads to overconfidence? Whatever. Either way, Geringer didn't care. He believed that his knife would destroy Shane's confidence. Geringer put the long sword to his waist and made an "ei" gesture. As Geilinger accumulated strength, the sword intent in the hall became thick and sticky. Everyone present found it difficult to breathe and felt a little suffocated. Marine and the others all frowned, feeling something was wrong.
Geringer is using all his strength. Everyone subconsciously looked at Akainu and saw Akainu's face was solemn.
But Akainu didn't say anything. Akainu showed no fear when he saw Shane's face. He was only indifferent to his own confidence and chose to believe in his son. At this time, it was Elder Satan who said, Commander, have you passed? It's just a verification, and it doesn't require life or death. Why use all your strength? After all, Akainu is the Admiral's son, so he should still be given the face he deserves. After a pause, Elder Sartain looked at Shane and said, Shane, if you're not sure, you can tell me. After hearing this, Shane smiled lightly. That's it. The 5 elders didn't say anything after hearing this. They had given enough face. This is Shane's own choice. If he dies, he will have no one to blame.
Geringer sneered in his heart. This kid was really arrogant to the point of exaggeration.
Whatever. Respect the fate of others. Geringer stopped talking nonsense, and with the red light in his eyes flashing, he shouted.
God's judgment, God's punishment. Geilinger's figure sprinted out, dragging out the afterimage at such a fast speed. At the same time, his figure was flying almost close to the ground, heading straight for Shane. Black thunder intertwined on Geringer's long sword, and the sword energy that had just filled the hall began to become violent. As if a beast had suddenly discovered its prey, it began to pounce crazily on Shane. Buzz buzz. Geilinger's figure had already arrived in front of Shane, and the slashes with the long knife in his hand made the air tremble crazily and let out a wail.
This knife struck Shane with an aura that could break the sky.
All the power poured into Shane. This caused Shane to fly backwards and then hit the floor hard. Boom. A loud blast echoed through the hall. The ground cracked, the hall trembled, and the huge movement spread throughout Mariajoy. The Hall of Power. Geringer's blow almost reduced the center of power to a state of semi-ruins. The sun shines through the huge cracks in the dome, and the sky is filled with dust.
In the gloom, Geringer looked at the missing Shane and smiled lightly.
Then he looked at Akainu and said, Sakazuki, I'm sorry. I have given your son a chance to choose. The expressions of everyone in Marine changed drastically, especially Akainu, whose arms were trembling slightly.
Is Shane dead? Opposite the ruins, the 5 elders and others didn't have much impression.
They had expected such a result when Shane still insisted on letting Geringer slash with all his strength. It can only be said that Sakazuki's son is too conceited and has no one to blame. At this time, in the central ruins, a crash sound sounded. Everyone present was stunned for a moment, and then looked at him one after another. I saw Shane crawling out of a pile of rubble. While frantically patting the dust off his body, he said fearfully, "It was so close, and finally we are out. I almost thought I was going to suffocate to death under the rubble." Shane's appearance shocked everyone present. They thought Shane had been hacked to death by Geringer, but they didn't expect. This brat actually withstood Geringer's full-strength sword. Elder Nasuhiro was extremely surprised. Under the round glasses, his pupils vibrated violently. As a strong swordsman, he naturally knew how strong Geilinger's swordsmanship was. "Isn't this kid's defense too exaggerated?" Sarden said in surprise. "Did you notice that this kid didn't even use hockey?" another elder said. One sentence made the 5 elders feel shocked. "Simply use your body to resist Geringer's most powerful sword. An absolute monster." Marines sighed. Although they knew that Shane's defense was strong, they didn't expect it to be this strong. The Marines looked at Shane with even more intense eyes. Akainu didn't have too many thoughts. The moment he saw Shane was still alive, he felt only joy. At the scene, the person most unable to accept this fact was Geringer.
Not only was Shane not dead, he didn't seem to be hurt at all. The most outrageous thing is that what Shane is afraid of is not because of his own knife, but because he was almost suffocated to death by the ruins. This fact made Geilinger suspicious. How can it be? He has left indelible scars on the strongest man. My most powerful attack can't even harm a kid? Geringer looked at Shane like he was a monster. Shane climbed up from the rubble. After hearing this, he quickly said, "Commander, you should be more confident."
"You hurt me." With that said, Shane reached out and grabbed the long knife in Geringer's hand.
Using Zheng Liang's blade to shine on his neck, he could vaguely see a bloodstain on his neck, which was the wound scratched by Geringer's long knife.
Shane nodded immediately and said with an expression of approval, "Commander, your sword is so powerful. The scratches are so long." Everyone was silent after hearing this.
5 elders, Marine, everyone looked at each other, looking at each other.
Does this kid know that this is not a compliment, but a disgusting thing? Geilinger's full-strength stab only left a scratch on his neck. How big of a blow was this to him?
Maybe it will become Geringer's inner demon. As expected, Geringer became furious after hearing this. "Boy. Are you humiliating me? Continue, I'm going to kill you again?" Geilinger felt unwilling, dissatisfied, and angry. He wants to kill Shane again. At this time, the 5 elders behind him spoke. "Commander, calm down." Elder Sarden suppressed the shock in his heart and comforted him. "Shane has passed the verification and will soon become our most effective subordinate. Don't embarrass others." Other elders also tried to persuade Geringer. Seeing that the 5 elders had spoken, Geringer could only snort, and sat back down in his seat with a look of unwillingness. The 5 elders also ignored Geringer and looked at Shane one after another. Their deep and experienced eyes were full of surprise. "Having lived for so long, I have seen many geniuses, but this is the first time I have seen such a monster genius. When he joins Marine, world government will definitely become more powerful. The most important thing is that this kid is Akainu's son, and there is absolutely no problem with his background." While the 5 elders were thinking a lot, Shane said to the 5 elders. "Elders, now that the verification is complete, can you now appoint me as Marine Admiral?" Ha ha ha. Elder Wally smiled kindly, completely losing the attitude of a superior person at the beginning. "Shane, of course there is no problem. Although we still need to draw up documents later, and then issue an announcement to the outside world, and other processes. But now in the eyes of us old guys, you are the 4th Marine Admiral." Elder Sarden also smiled in an approachable manner. Code name, Black Dragon. "You are the strongest creature belonging to our world government." As soon as he finished speaking, a systematic voice sounded in Shane's mind. "Congratulations to host for completing the task. Unlock the new attribute of Big Super Template, Super Power." Ads by Bid Gear Chapter 8. The Sea is surprised, 4th Admiral? Shane listened carefully and fully understood what he had gained this time. Obtained the new attribute of Big Super Template, Super Power. The level is Junior. Shane had no idea about the classification of attribute levels before. After today's verification, he has a certain evaluation in his mind. The top level is definitely at the level of 4 Emperors. Working backwards from this, the junior level is probably the Rear Admiral level, and there is a high probability that the top level is the Rear Admiral level, which is equivalent to the Quasi-Vice Admiral level. Looking at the entire sea, it can be regarded as not weak. Shane was originally satisfied with this, but after seeing the way to improve super strength, he was suddenly filled with disappointment. Superpower, improvement method. It needs to absorb and plunder other people's armament hockey to improve. The magnitude of the increase depends on the strength of armament hockey absorbing the looted target. For Shane, who just wants to be a salty fish, this way of improvement is too unfriendly. That's it. If it goes well, improve it. If it doesn't go well, don't force it.
The primary superpower is not weak anymore, so don't bother yourself anymore.
On the side, Sengoku was all smiles. Just as he expected, after the 5 elders saw Shane's strength, they would definitely promote him to become the 4th admiral. Akainu rarely stopped keeping a straight face and felt proud that his son had become an admiral. Kizaru said, "Yo, from now on, this kid will have the same status as us." Aokiji scratched his head and felt quite emotional.
Garp looked regretful. Since Shane became admiral, he could no longer accept Shane as his apprentice.
The purpose of Marine's meeting was accomplished. Everyone did not stay in Marijoy for too long and quickly set off back to Marineford. Because the paperwork has not yet been issued, the news that Shane has become the 4th admiral is currently only known to Marine executives. Shane thinks it will most likely take a few days before the paperwork is issued and an announcement is made.
Shane didn't care at all. The mission has been completed and new attributes have been unlocked. It doesn't matter whether this admiral is used or not.
However, Shane underestimated the importance the world government attached to this incident. The document was issued the next day, and Marine also issued an announcement. Shane breaks the rules and becomes the 4th admiral, codenamed Black Dragon. As soon as the Marine announcement came out, the sea shook. All forces in the world were shocked. Marine 3 Admiral's system was actually broken? What is the origin of the Black Dragon Admiral? How could he be promoted to the 4th Admiral? White Earth Continent, the secret base of the Revolutionary Army. After the Revolutionary Army learned of Marine's announcement, they immediately held an emergency meeting to comprehensively investigate all information on the 4th Admiral. Background, origin, strength, and what achievements have been made in the past.
However, when the investigation information came out, the core leaders of the Revolutionary Army were dumbfounded.
Sabo looked stunned and looked at Long. "Commander, is Marine playing? The Black Dragon Admiral is actually a boy?" Long fell into silence, also looking confused. On the 7 warlords of the seaside, everyone was also surprised by Marine's sudden appearance of a new admiral.
Dressrosa. Doflamingo sat on the vermilion armchair, looking at the information in his hand, and the veins on his forehead wriggled crazily.
Shane, isn't Akainu's son's talent too terrifying? Marine made an exception and gave birth to the 4th admiral. I'm afraid it will have an impact on the Shichibukai system. New world, on an island somewhere. Ben Beckman vomited, looked at the redhead and said, "Shanks, what do you think of the 4th admiral promoted by Marine in an unusual way?" "I heard that the new admiral is only 16 years old." Yasop said the information he knew. The fat lackey Lou on the side didn't pay much attention at first and took a big bite of the chicken drumstick in his hand. However, he immediately started coughing violently and choked. After coughing, Lucky Lou was shocked and said, "What? Only 16? Are you sure you didn't buy some cheap fake information?" Haha. The red-haired man chuckled, "It's indeed true. And he is Akainu's son. Holy crap. I originally thought that with a bounty of 90 million Baileys, I would be considered a super newcomer," Rox said with a toothache. "First didn't expect Marine to come out with someone more ruthless than me. But he's still the son of a tough guy like Akainu. That's not a good thing." The red-haired man didn't care much and said, "The kid is a kid after all. Besides, wouldn't it be more interesting this way?" All nations Cake Island. In the candy hall, the retainers of the Big Mom pirates screamed in surprise. Marine's new admiral, Black Dragon, defense is too outrageous.
You were able to survive unscathed from the joint attacks of 2 admirals, Akainu and Kizaru, and the hero, Garp.
Comparable to Mom's steel balloon. In fact, many retainers feel that the new admiral's record has surpassed that of their mother.
But you can't say such things in front of your mother, as it will annoy her.
On the throne above, the aunt's sneer sounded. She said in a sharp voice, "Joining forces is nothing. That's just an exaggerated announcement made by Marine to build momentum for the new admiral." "Do you really believe it?" The aunt looked disdainful. "The real fact is that Akainu, Kizaru and Garp took turns to attack each other, each with one attack, but they didn't use their full strength. At this level, I can resist hundreds of times, ha ha ha, mommy.
Wanokuni Ghost Island. In the main hall, Kaido couldn't stop laughing wildly. Does Marine feel that his control over the sea is a little weak?
"I can't wait to promote an admiral to stabilize people's hearts." Black Dragon. Kaido muttered Shane's codename. "This codename makes Lousy very unhappy. Brother Kaido, do you want me to find a chance to teach this new admiral a lesson? He dares to call himself a dragon." Jack looked angry.
Shane, the new admiral, was not afraid at all. Not to mention Shane, the new admiral, he is not afraid even of the strongest Admiral Akainu.
If he encounters it, he dares to pass by boat. There is only one dragon in this world, Brother Kaido.
Kaido smiled lowly and waved his hand. "Jack, just focus on the upcoming artificial devil fruit deal."
"What kind of black dragon is that?" "Lousy will find an opportunity to meet him." "Ahaha. I hope Lousy won't be too disappointed."
Jin and Quinn looked at each other, both knowing what Kaido might be up to.
"I guess when Kaido gets bored, he will go find trouble with the black dragon." Ads by Bid Gear Chapter 9 New Mission. Go to the White Group's territory to trade devil fruit. On the vast sea, the Mobiti sailed on it, like a huge white whale. The Whitebeard pirates also learned about the 4th Admiral Black Dragon, Admiral. After the initial accident, everyone in the White group didn't take it to heart. Wow, haha. Josie raised his fist and laughed. I can also achieve the level of that Black Dragon Admiral. Ha ha ha, Captain Joes, you already have the strength of an Admiral, Blackbeard boasted. Joes, do you want to join the army now and be the 5th Admiral for fun? Ace joked with a smile. As the strongest pirate group in modern times, they have the strongest pride. I don't care at all about the 4th Admiral selected by Marine in an unusual way. Amid everyone's laughter, Sachi quickly squeezed through the crowd and came to Whitebeard. Whitebeard noticed Sage approaching quickly, raised his eyebrows and asked, Saki, what's the matter?
Sachi said with joy on his face. Dad, I got information about a devil fruit, which is in the hands of a pirate group.
I'm going to have someone come with me to get the devil fruit. Whitebeard raised his eyebrows. He finally understood why Thatch was so eager just now.
Sage is very interested in devil fruit's abilities and looks forward to getting a devil fruit one day.
Now that he finally discovered a devil fruit, Saki was naturally eager and excited. Naturally, Whitebeard wouldn't mind Sage's request. He didn't even ask which pirate group it was, he just glanced around and said, Children, Sage discovered a devil fruit. Which one of you wants to go with Sage to snatch it? Without waiting for anyone else to respond, Ace immediately stood up. He asked, Dad, Marco is not here, so let me take the 2nd team to go with Sachi's 4th team. I'd better go. Chowzi also asked. I haven't moved my tibia for a long time, and it feels like it's moldy. Not only Chowzi, but other division captains also requested that they wait for the division captain to go together.
Whitebeard felt extremely warm in his heart when he saw his crew members actively helping each other.
This must be what he has been pursuing all his life. Family, Whitebeard let out a unique laugh, coo. It's just a big pirate, he can't afford to offend so many people. After thinking about it, Whitebeard made a decision. Let Ace lead the 2nd team to go together. Whitebeard plans to give Ace more experience. Now that I am suffering from old illnesses, I don't know how long I can sustain it. Ace didn't know what Whitebeard was thinking, and was overjoyed when he heard his father asked him to take action. He immediately called to Sage and said, Sage, you have been looking forward to getting devil fruit for many years. This time I will help you fulfill your wish. Sachi chuckled, Ace, no matter whether I can get it in the end or not, I will make your favorite food when I come back. Ace immediately looked greedy and urged Saki to leave quickly.
While everyone was talking and laughing, Ace and Saki led their team to set off together.
Blackbeard in the team showed no abnormal expression, but he was smiling sinisterly in his heart. I don't know what devil fruit it is either. Hope it is the devil fruit that Lousy has been waiting for many years. Naval Headquarters, Marshal's Mansion. Sengoku lowered his head and continued to review the information on the table, while he and Momosagi were drinking tea leisurely. What a sharp contrast. At this moment, Sengoku's ears moved and he heard a yawn at the door. Sengoku immediately looked up, and Izuru and Momosagi also looked up. I saw Shane walking in while yawning. Ha, Shane, you're here. Sengoku stopped working and greeted. Shane came up to him, and Sukuru, Momosagi and others nodded as a greeting. Then he sat down on the chair, looked at Sengoku and asked. Marshal, why did you summon me this time? That's it. Sengoku's expression turned serious. I need you to go trade a devil fruit with a big pirate. Big pirate. Shane raised an eyebrow and looked at Sengoku. Sengoku nodded and explained. Garp is the one holding the string. It has been for many years. That guy also helped Garp win the World Destroyer, Burndy. Shane nodded slightly. He knew Burndy. He was a character who appeared in the movie, a Momo fruit user. In the current timeline, this guy is still frozen in the 6th floor of the underwater prison. Originally, this was Garp's mission, but now that Garp is not in Naval Headquarters, the other admirals have their own missions. You must be aware of this. Because the transaction location is special and the mission is urgent, Admiral forces are required to be dispatched, so we need you, the new Admiral, to take action. After hearing this, Shane had a bad feeling in his heart. Is the transaction location special? Where is the transaction? Sengoku told Shane the coordinates of the location. He estimated that Shane most likely didn't know where the coordinates were, so he put down his tea and added, this is Whitebeard's territory. No wonder the Admiral force was dispatched. Shane understood. Shane suddenly felt reluctant in every possible way. The mission is not only to make a deal with the big pirate, but also the mission location is the Whitebeard pirates. No matter which accident occurs, it will be very troublesome. He just wants to be a salted fish in peace. Otherwise, why don't you just resign now? Anyway, I got the new attributes. Or find a reason to shirk. And just when Shane was thinking about the reason, the system voice in his mind suddenly sounded. Open black lens bracket task. Complete the mission entrusted by Sengoku. After completion, you can get system rewards. Close black lens bracket. When he heard the task issued by the system, all the reasons that Shane had just been thinking about suddenly came to an end. Shane felt helpless and speechless. Why did he come on a mission at this time? No matter what, in that case, just take this trip yourself. Maybe the transaction went smoothly. then this mission can be regarded as a vacation. So, Shane changed his mind and said to Sengoku, Marshal, leave this task to me. Sengoku nodded when he saw Shane taking over the task. On the side, he took a sip of tea, and then warned in the tone of an elder, Shane, your strength and talent are great, but you must be careful in everything. Although the big pirate has been working with Garp privately for many years, we still have to be on guard at all times, lest he suddenly betrays us. Once the transaction is successfully completed, immediately return to Naval Headquarters and do not deliberately provoke the 4 emperors. Deliberately provoking the 4 emperors? Don't be ridiculous, Grandmahi. I hope nothing happens along the way and I can complete the task in a vacation style. However, he was nice to him, and it was out of concern for his junior, that Shane still gave him enough respect, pretending to listen attentively, and nodding from time to time. After he finished his instructions, he finally said, This is your first mission, Shane. Let Chi Yuan go with you. Chi Yuan? Shane didn't know who it was and looked at he in confusion. Crane's expression froze for a moment, then he coughed dryly and said, That's the Momosagi Vice Admiral next to me. Momosagi didn't mind that Shane didn't recognize him, and said with a smile, You are a newcomer, so I will forgive you. But if you dare to forget next time, I won't let you go, Momosagi joked, raising his fist as he spoke.
He glanced at Momosagi and said angrily, Sister, pay attention to your posture, Shane is an admiral.
But just Vice Admiral. After Momosagi heard this, he curled his lips and muttered silently, But I am senior. He looked at Shane and said, Shane, this is Chi Yuan's character. I hope you won't feel offended. Many people in the army have been criticized by her. Suru mentioned Garp, Kizaru and Aokiji, and even Akainu, the higher-ups. Shane smiled faintly and waved his hand to express that he would not be relieved. Momosagi has no restraints, which makes this journey interesting. Otherwise, if a rigid subordinate followed him, he would probably die of boredom on the ship. Shane naturally agreed to go with Momosagi. Going to New World is not only a problem for pirates, but you may also encounter various maritime troubles along the way. Momosagi has been in the army for many years and has rich experience. With her here, he can fish all the way. Why not? Ads by Bid Gear Chapter 10. Everyone is surprised. The Black Dragon's special appearance. The next day, on a border island somewhere in Whitebeard's territory, a group of pirates gathered on the coast and looked at the sea. One of the pirates couldn't help but said, Captain Charlie, why hasn't Marine come yet? Charlie, who had a brown beard on his side, did not answer, but the first mate next to him smiled. When you stay on the ship for a long time, you'll get used to it. That Garp guy is never on time. After finishing speaking, the first mate looked at Captain Charlie and said, Boss, I heard that the Black Dragon Admiral recently promoted by Marine is a brat with no hair at all. What do you think of this Black Dragon Admiral? Charlie was a tall man. Hearing this, he looked down at his first mate and chuckled. If you knew who the new admiral's father was, you would probably have a certain idea in your mind. The first mate is curious. Charlie scoffed, his father is Akainu. Hearing that it was Akainu, the first mate suddenly said, Boss, do you think that the reason why that kid can serve as the new admiral is because of Akainu? It's not what I think, it's just the fact, Charlie said firmly. He raised his waist and said with an expression that had already seen through. Think about it, who is the strongest among the 3 admirals today? Who has fought against pirates the most? Who is the most active? Akainu. Charlie nodded. Yes, besides, let alone Akainu, Kizaru and Garp, how much force do they dare to use against Akainu's son? Oh, I understand, boss, the first mate suddenly understood. The other crew members also looked surprised, which meant that the Black Dragon Admiral actually had a false name and was not very valuable. At this moment, suddenly the lookout's trembling hands came from the coast and exclaimed. Check, Captain Charlie, Shiro, the Whitebeard pirates are approaching us. When they heard about the Whitebeard pirates, everyone in the Charlie pirates immediately started to commotion. Captain, what now? Charlie's expression kept changing. Although it was urgent, he was still a great pirate and could stabilize his mentality. He immediately shouted an order. Return to the ship immediately and set sail. With the order, all members immediately rushed to their own pirate ships. But within a few seconds, a wave of heat came over, accompanied by a low cry.
Fire punch. The blazing flames turned into a wall of fire about 10 meters high, blocking the path of everyone in the Charlie pirates.
At the same time, Ace's figure fell. He lifted his hat with an index finger and showed his smile. Invading other people's territory without permission and wanting to leave directly. That's not good. Under the firelight were the shocked expressions of everyone in the Charlie pirates. The leader, Charlie, looked at Ace, and out of the corner of his eye looked at the other members of the Whitebeard pirates who had docked and landed. Ace, Sazi, the 2nd Division captain. Charlie's face became more and more ugly, and now he was in big trouble. However, as a big pirate, Charlie is not someone who accepts his fate easily. He immediately shouted to boost his morale. Everyone. It's just 2 divisions, let's join forces to kill them. Let the reputation of our Charlie pirates shock the sea again. As Charlie took the lead in attacking Ace, the 2 sides quickly fought together. However, the two sides came into contact, and several members of the Charlie pirates were killed. Although Charlie is a big pirate, the core of the entire group's combat power lies in his captain. Amidst the clash of weapons and the sound of gunfire, the Charlie pirates suffered heavy losses in less than half an hour. Charlie looked at his subordinates who fell to the ground one by one and roared crazily. However, when facing Ace and Saki, two captain-level warriors joined forces, no matter how angry he was still losing ground. Ace's fire punch made Charlie's body bend into a shrimp, and blood spurted out from his mouth. Damn it! Charlie gritted his teeth, and blood flowed from between his teeth and dripped on the ground. The Whitebeard pirates truly deserve their reputation. Ace and Thatch didn't give Charlie a chance to breathe at all, and attacked him again with a fire punch and a kick. The fire is like a beast, and the kicking skills are like sharp blades. Charlie wanted to dodge sideways, but as soon as he exerted force, he suddenly vomited blood from his mouth. His heart suddenly skipped a beat, and he exclaimed, "It's over." At this moment, Charlie's mood was extremely complicated.
Damn Garp, if I wasn't late, the transaction would have been completed long ago.
Charlie was unwilling, angry, all kinds of thoughts, and in the end he was facing the despair of death. I'm afraid there will be no more Charlie pirates in the sea after today. At this moment, a blast of artillery fired across the battlefield. Many people subconsciously looked for the sound, including Ace and others. Immediately, everyone saw a cannonball passing through the air. The most important thing was that there was a person standing on the cannonball. Everyone present was surprised. What is going on? Without waiting for a reaction, the cannonball landed not far in front of Charlie with the man. The shell exploded immediately, and at the same time Ace's flames and Satsi's kicks followed. In an instant, flames shot into the sky, the kicking skills tore apart the earth, and the surrounding areas suddenly turned into ruins. That person just now must be Marine. I saw the military uniform. This way of saving the scene is a bit special. Where is the rescue? It's obvious that you are going to die. Okay.
I guess it's been shattered to pieces. Quote. Among the crowd, Blackbeard only found it funny.
Even if he didn't die, he was bombarded by artillery shells and withstood the attacks of Captain Ace and Captain Thatch, he would probably be useless. But the next second, Blackbeard's pupils widened slightly. Many people around shouted in surprise, "Holy crap, that man's not dead. He walked out on his own, no injuries?" In the light of the fire, Shane walked out. Apart from his tattered clothes, he did not suffer any injuries. Ace, Thatch and Blackbeard were all surprised when they saw this scene. Hey, this Marine withstood our joint attack without any injuries? Ace was a little unbelievable. The other party is still a brat. Saki was also surprised. Isn't this kid's defense too high?
On Blackbeard's part, he had an idea. Imp, is it the new Admiral, the Black Dragon Admiral?
Ahead, Shane ignored his surroundings and walked straight towards Charlie. Charlie looked at the kid walking towards him in surprise. Despite the ferocious attack just now, he really wasn't injured. There wasn't even a skin injury. Are you the Black Dragon Admiral? Charlie asked tentatively. Shane nodded and said, "Yeah, casually, it's really the Black Dragon Admiral." Not only Charlie, but also Ace on the opposite side, Saki and other members of the White Group were also sure that this kid was Marine's new admiral. Adds by Bid Gear Chapter 11. This defense is too outrageous. Really? Blackbeard's eyes moved slightly. As he expected, this kid is the new Admiral Black Dragon Admiral. Ace touched his nose. It's not as bad as I thought. Sachi nodded in agreement. It seems that Marine's announcement is somewhat credible. It's not as exaggerated as I thought. This brat admiral's defense is indeed something. The other side of the flame, Charlie is also convinced by Shane. Originally, he thought that Shane relied on Akainu to become admiral and had no gold content. Looking at it now, it still has some gold content. I just don't know how high the gold content is and whether it can be comparable to the old admiral. At this time, Shane's voice brought Charlie back to his senses. The devil fruit wasn't taken away, was it? When it comes to system tasks, Shane is naturally attentive. No. Charlie was polite, and then took out a treasure box from the bag on his waist. The Black Dragon Admiral, I have always protected him very well. At the same time, Momosagi also came with his soldiers to join Shane. Looking at the two major divisions of the Whitebeard pirates, their expressions were slightly condensed. Black Dragon Admiral, there is trouble in this mission. Shane did not respond immediately, but threw the treasure box to Momosagi and said, "You and your soldiers just need to protect the treasure chest, and I will handle this trouble by myself." One person? Momosagi's expression froze, and the soldiers around him were also surprised. Black Dragon Admiral. Momosagi wanted to persuade, but Shane interrupted directly. It would be bad if the devil fruit was taken away. He didn't want the mission to fail. Charlie on the side opened his mouth slightly. He couldn't understand. Obviously we can do many to many, but we have to do one to many? He quickly said, "Black Dragon Admiral, if First and you Marine deal with each other together, it will be much safer." The strength of the opponent's two captains cannot be underestimated. However, Shane has already stepped forward, opposite. Ace, Saki and everyone else in the white group looked at Shane with strange expressions. Is this kid too crazy? Even the veteran admiral would not choose one person to deal with many of them. Ace looked at Saki, who looked at each other and whispered. It seems we have been looked down upon. Ace chuckled. After all, he is the new admiral, he doesn't know us. In this case, we have to leave a deep impression on him. The two looked at each other and smiled, gearing up for a big fight. They planned to let the new admiral know what the Whitebeard pirates are. However, what everyone in the white group did not expect was that Shane's first words when he came to them were to persuade them to make peace. Actually, I don't want to start a war, it would be too much trouble. How about we each take a step back? We have got what we want and can leave your territory. And you just need to give up and continue taking action. Shane's main thing is that if there is no trouble, there will never be any trouble. Opposite, Ace smiled and said, Black Dragon, the deal you are talking about is devil fruit, right? If so, sorry, we can't agree to the conditions. Sage has been looking forward to devil fruit for many years and I don't want his expectations to be disappointed. Thatch didn't say anything, he was really eager to get the devil fruit. After hearing this, Shane sighed helplessly, alas. It seems I can only beat you to the ground, it's really troublesome. Ha, Ace sneered, his voice faint, you are really confident. Just right. Let's take a closer look and see what you have to offer Marine to make an exception and promote you to become the 4th Admiral. After Ace finished speaking, he was the first to attack. Fire punch. Thatch sneered from the side, Ace, don't scare the children. The flames turned into giant fists that roared towards Shane. Shane didn't move, standing still and letting the fire fist roar on him. Behind them, the expressions of Charlie and the surviving members changed slightly. Why are you standing still? Forget it if you don't move, don't even resist. Isn't that outrageous? Ahead, the blazing flames engulfed Shane and exploded immediately. Ace raised his eyebrows and couldn't help but ask, is this new admiral stupid? Sachi also frowned, why didn't this guy react at all? Are you too conceited about your own defense? The surrounding white mass cheered as Ace's fire fist engulfed Shane. Haha, there is a price to pay for being conceited. Captain Ace's fire fist is famous throughout the world. Powerful enough to destroy several marine warships at the same time. That brat admiral is afraid he will be burned to death. However, the cheers soon stopped, and Shane's figure was seen walking out of the flames again. As he walked out, he patted the flames on his body and murmured, if it continues to burn like this, I will be naked. Playing with fire is really annoying. Everyone in Baituan was surprised when they saw this. The kid admiral still didn't get any harm. How is that possible? This is Captain Ace's fire fist. Hit the fire fist in the front, even the veteran admiral will be choked. Ace's pupils shook, my fire fist is useless? This is one of his most powerful attacks. Sachi frowned. The key is that this kid admiral hasn't used hockey to resist, so he relies on his physical body. It seems that the announcement issued by Marine is not watery at all. Ace gritted his teeth and then said in a deep voice, I don't believe his defense can resist him all the time. If we go together, we will be able to break his defense. The flames started again, fire fist. The shouts resounded from all directions. Thatch stopped watching this time and teamed up with Ace to take action. Ace's flames and Thatch's fierce kicks fell on Shane like a rainstorm. However, the two of them only felt that they were bombarding a solid rock. No matter how hard they attack, they remain unmoved. Soon the two chose to pull away, already slightly out of breath. The whole audience was shocked by Shane. Isn't this brat admiral's defense too exaggerated? Captain Ace and Captain Thatch worked together, but they still couldn't cause him any harm. Ace and Saki no longer felt relaxed at first, and their expressions became serious. I finally understand why this kid was able to become an admiral, Ace said in a low voice. Saki nodded slightly. Behind them, Charlie and his subordinates were shocked. The Black Dragon Admiral is genuine. This defense is enough to become a nightmare for the enemy. Ads by Bid Gear Chapter 12. What? Can the Black Dragon absorb hockey? Align high-rise pants 25 inches size 8 Lululemon HK 880 Hong Kong dollars when feeling nothing is EV. Faced with the exclamations around him, Shane only felt noisy. What he likes is purity. After moving his shoulders, Shane said to Ace, Sage and others. It's better for you to agree to the proposal I just made. What I hate the most is trouble. Opposite, Ace raised his eyebrows, then said solemnly, sorry, we still refuse. If they agreed, wouldn't that mean they were cowardly? On the side, Sachi shouted, everyone, come together. This kid admiral's defense is indeed amazing, but that's his only strength. Thatch found out, Shane was defensive the whole time and did not attack. It can be inferred from this that the opponent's attack is not powerful. They will definitely attack, and as long as they break the opponent's defense, then they and others will win. With an order, the entire white regiment launched an attack. Shane looked helpless when he saw the crowd coming. If you want to relax, why is it so difficult? Whatever. Since it was delivered to your door, you should just upgrade your superpower. Presumably, the people of the Whitebeard Pirates still have some gold. With a faint smile, Shane seemed to be talking to himself or telling him, I don't just know how to defend. I just didn't want to cause too much trouble. At this moment, a figure from behind slashed with a sword. Shane shut up immediately, his eyes flashed, and he turned around suddenly. Letting the long knife strike his body, Shane raised his hand and grabbed the white group member. The pirate looked at the long knife that struck Shane's head without leaving any trace, and felt a surge in his heart. But the next second, something even more frightening happened to him. The pirate felt his haki draining away, as if he was being absorbed. His face immediately turned pale and he called for help. Captain Ace, Captain Thatch, hurry up and save me. This guy is absorbing my haki. But soon, the man's calls gradually became quieter, and finally he was so weak that he could no longer speak. Shane let go, and the 100 regiment members fell to the ground, losing their fighting ability. At the same time, in Shane's mind, the system's voice sounded. Successfully absorbed armament haki, super strength, +10. +10. Shane is no stranger to this. When he was exposed to the sun before, the system always prompted, super defense, +1. It is equivalent to increasing the experience. Once the maximum experience value is met, the level will be improved. All around, everyone in the white group changed their colors completely and looked shocked. Blackbeard only feels numb on his scalp. What's going on? This guy is able to absorb other people's haki? Ace and Sachi's expressions were extremely gloomy. Something is wrong. Not only does this kid have a terrifyingly high defense, but he also has such weird methods. Rear. Momosagi, who was holding the treasure chest, looked surprised. Natsu. The Black Dragon Admiral still has the ability to absorb haki? Marshal, Akainu Admiral, do they know? On the sidelines, Charlie and others were even more surprised to see Shane's strange methods. They don't care why Shane can absorb haki. What Charlie cares about is that Shane can help him vent his anger. Charlie laughed loudly. Lousy knows that the Black Dragon Admiral is the most awesome. Marine can be promoted to Admiral at such a young age, just ask who else. All around, the surviving members of the Charlie Pirates looked at their captain. You sure? I was told before that they had no gold content. Ahead. This completely shattered the Bedouin's understanding of Shane, the new Admiral. The opponent not only has strong defense, but also has a weird way of absorbing haki. On Ace's side, looking at his fallen partner, he gritted his teeth, asshole. That's a member of his second team. Ace has a strong sense of belonging to the Whitebeard Pirates, and naturally he will not tolerate others hurting his friends. This is very similar to Luffy. The flames exploded, and Ace turned into a burning man with a sullen face. Ace. Wait a minute. Saki knew Ace's character and wanted to stop him. However, Ace's character would not listen to advice and went straight to Shane. The flames were like tigers, trying to kill Shane and fall down. Shane's face, which was flushed by the firelight, showed only calmness. Super defense has reached the top level, with the 4 Emperors level, and is not afraid of Ace's flames. Ace, what right do you have to be angry? I've given you 2 chances. With that said, Shane raised his hand directly to grab the fire. Then he grabbed Ace in the flames. Ace looked shocked. Is this guy's body made of steel? He gritted his teeth, raised his hand and fired the flame spear. But the flame spear hit Shane and collapsed instantly. Shane didn't waste any time and started absorbing Ace's haki. Super power. +100, +100, +100. Ace felt his haki pass, and his face was stained with horror. Now he has experienced what his partner felt just now. On the other side, Sachi's face changed drastically when he saw Ace being caught. Ace. Go together. Shane's face was calm as he listened to the system in his mind, constantly prompting the experience value of super power. +100, +100. I sighed in my heart. The wool of the strong is still so good. The pirate was emptied by himself after sucking him for a while, but Ace still has some energy left. The reminder of +100 kept running through my mind. Shane feels that super strength can be upgraded from beginner to intermediate level very quickly. Sure enough, absorbing the captain level is different. It seems that I still have to recruit strong people to absorb them, so that my efficiency will be greatly improved. At this moment, a sinister laughter sounded from behind. Thief, ha ha ha. Black Dragon, let Lousy see if your defense is as strong as that man's. Shane turned around and saw Blackbeard holding up the claw in his hand. That's a weapon on the hand. Is this what Blackbeard used to leave scars on redheads? While thinking about this, Blackbeard's claw had already fallen. 3 lights flashed in front of Shane and fell on Shane's eyes. Seeing that his plan was successful, Blackbeard chuckled. Human eyes are the most vulnerable. So, Shane's calm voice sounded. Is this why you left 3 scars on the red-haired eye? Blackbeard was stunned. How could Shane know about his deeds? Ads by Bid Gear Chapter 13 Mission accomplished. Unlock the upper limit of abilities and double your idle income. Ultralight hip length tank top size 4 Lululemon HK 420 Hong Kong dollars. Is this thing on? From? Blackbeard couldn't figure it out at all. How could a newly promoted admiral, who was just a brat, know about this? But that's not the point is, Blackbeard looked at Shane, who was not injured at all, and his face was filled with horror. I can hurt the red hair, but I can't hurt this kid at all? After failing to hit the target, Blackbeard quickly wanted to retreat. But Shane threw Ace away and turned his target to Blackbeard. A punch to Blackbeard's stomach. Punch, although the superpower is only at the elementary level, but combined with the top level, super defense, this punch is very powerful. Blackbeard's expression suddenly twisted in pain, he vomited a mouthful of blood and then hit the ground. It hurts so much, Blackbeard screamed on the ground. But when he found Shane walking towards him, he immediately shut up, reluctantly got up and ran away. Shane didn't give Blackbeard a chance at all and caught Blackbeard directly absorbing his hockey. Blackbeard's accomplishments in hockey are much better than Ace's. After all, before getting the dark fruit, Blackbeard relied on his own physical skills. Blackbeard felt hockey's loss and was horrified. He immediately shouted at the top of his lungs, "Captain Ace, hurry up and save me."
People like Blackbeard don't even think about whether they will lose their temper.
The screams were so miserable. Ace got up from the ground and yelled at Thatch. "Thatch, don't hold anything back and attack with all your strength." Sachi nodded heavily. "Yes, this cannot continue. If this continues, I'm afraid they will all be caught in one fell swoop." Saki and Ace no longer considered maintaining their physical strength, and went all out to attack like crazy. Fire Emperor, Teach, hold on. Regardless of the intense physical exertion, the two of them attacked Shane crazily. At the same time, everyone in the surrounding white group also rushed towards Shane. Under the attack of the violent storm, Shane's body was finally shaken and he was beaten back repeatedly. Not even close. Shane muttered silently, he was simply not satisfied with absorbing Blackbeard alone.
Whoever he grabbed with his other hand, he immediately began to absorb it, and at the same time, he let the attacks from Ace, Thatch and others hit him.
This made everyone in the Charlie Pirates dumbfounded. Everyone gasped. They have never seen this kind of fighting style before, it's too scary. And they also really saw the terrifying defensive power of Shane, the new admiral. Behind, Momoshagi was also shocked by Shane's style of play. Although during this period, Shane absorbed many hockey members of the white group, causing them to lose their combat effectiveness. But no matter how you look at it, it looks like you were being beaten.
Injure the enemy 800 and injure yourself 10,000.
Is there really no problem? It can be seen that Shane's body has begun to show skin injuries.
Momoshagi subconsciously placed his hand on the sword at his waist. Once Shane is breached, attack immediately. Shane kept waiting for the system prompts in his mind.
At this time, the experience prompt of superpower in my mind changed. Superpower, promoted to intermediate, close black lens bracket finally. After achieving his goal, Shane immediately let go of Blackbeard, who fell to the ground, gasping for air. Finally rescued. I thought I was going to die just now. This kid is so scary. Blackbeard looked at Shane, swallowed, and felt lingering fear. On Sage's side, seeing that Blackbeard had been rescued, he immediately said decisively, "Retreat." "Ace, you can't be willful this time," Ace gasped. "I know." Ace knew without any prompting that he and the others had to retreat. At that moment, Shane reminded him of the feeling he had had. But what gave me this feeling at that time was the first time I met my dad. At that time, when I challenged Whitebeard, I felt helpless in the face of a terrifying opponent that I couldn't defeat. With the thought of retreat, the Whitebeard pirates did not hesitate at all and evacuated in droves. Ace shouted, and tried his best to pull out a high wall of flames to block the Marines' retreat. When Shane saw this, he laughed in his heart. Actually, there is no need for this, and he is too lazy to pursue. Too much trouble. His mission is just to trade devil fruit with the Charlie Pirates. Without any hesitation, Shane went back to meet Momoshagi and the others. Momoshagi glanced at the white group leaving, but she didn't say anything about pursuing him. It is not easy to force the white group back, but if they encounter Whitebeard in pursuit, they will be in big trouble. Although Charlie on the side was seriously injured, his face was filled with a happy smile. Seeing Shane looking at him, Charlie quickly pushed himself up and faced Shane with a flattering smile. "Black Dragon Admiral, hello. You are worthy of being promoted to the 4th Admiral by Marine. You are so powerful. You are the strongest Marine I have ever seen, bar none." Charlie praised wildly. In his eyes, Shane can definitely crush Garp and step on the 4 emperors. At this moment, Momoshagi next to Shane shouted coldly, "Charlie, you can't get any closer, or I'll kill you with one knife." Charlie paused after hearing this, his face looked innocent. Although this was the rule when he was dealing with Marine, there was no need to abide by it in front of Shane, right? Can he break the Black Dragon's defense? But it was a rule anyway, so Charlie didn't move forward and stood there and thanked Shane repeatedly. The other surviving members of the Charlie Regiment also gathered to express their gratitude to Shane, the Black Dragon Admiral. Without his timely rescue, there would be no Charlie Pirates in this sea after today. Shane picked out his ears and felt noisy in the face of a series of words of gratitude and praise. "If you're being polite, don't continue talking. I just completed my mission." Shane just wants to complete the task quickly. At the same time, he is also very curious whether the devil fruit in this transaction is the dark fruit. According to the timeline, Dark Fruit was born during this time. Yes, the Black Dragon Admiral, the treasure chest is in your hands, you can take a look. Shane said nothing and took the devil fruit from Momosagi. He opened the treasure box and took a look, then raised his eyebrows slightly. It's not dark fruit, although it was not a dark fruit, the moment Shane took the devil fruit, a systematic voice sounded in his mind. Congratulations to host for completing the task entrusted by Sengoku. Obtain reward. The upper limit of super defense is increased to mysterious level. Super defense. The income from hanging up is doubled. Super power. The speed of absorption is doubled. Ads by Bid Gear Chapter 14. The new Admiral is a little too aggressive. Zeroed in linerless shorts 5 inches size large. Lululemon HK 580 Hong Kong dollars. Get after it. These. Secret level. In other words, can I continue to bask in the sun to improve super defense? The previous top level was equivalent to the 4 Emperors level. If he could be promoted to the level of profound truth, wouldn't that mean he could reach the level of maritime overlord? Comparable to the rocks of old, Shane is in a good mood. Firstly, the increase in the upper limit will make him more secure, and secondly, super defense can be improved by just basking in the sun. This is very satisfying to Shane, who has a salty personality. The key is that the speed of hanging up while basking in the sun has doubled, allowing you to improve faster. As for the efficiency improvement of absorbing hockey, it is good, but this needs to be done by yourself, which Shane thinks is too troublesome. If it weren't for Ace today and Saki wouldn't retreat, he wouldn't even bother to absorb the opponent hockey. All in all, the rewards for this mission are quite impressive. At this time, Charlie's flattering laughter sounded from the side. Black Dragon Admiral, the amount of this transaction is 100 million belly. The small ones don't want these 100 million belly. Shane's expression didn't change much, he looked at Charlie and said calmly, "No, you want it. And you've accepted it." Charlie was stunned after hearing this. What does it mean that I want it and have already accepted it? How can I accept it? But Charlie soon figured it out and laughed out loud. Wow, ha ha ha. The Black Dragon Admiral is right, the younger one has already collected 100 million belly. Take it. Shane didn't say any more, turned around and walked towards the marine warship. On the side, Momosagi called out in his heart, what a guy.
Is this a kid's operation? Even at such an old age, I would never have thought of such a naughty act.
Looking at Shane's young back, Momosagi felt that she was going to completely redefine Shane. Not only is he powerful, he is also as big as a kid.
Mobity. Whitebeard sat in a high-backed chair, still domineering despite having various catheters inserted into his body.
He held a huge wine flask in his hand and drank tons of wine. At this moment, someone shouted, Captain Ace and Captain Thatch are back. Whitebeard continued drinking as if he hadn't heard anything. In his opinion, this mission has no difficulty and returns to normal.
However, at this moment, Chaozi and other members of the White group shouted in surprise.
Whitebeard looked surprised and saw that many people had already come up to help him. I saw that everyone was in a very embarrassed state and looked frightened. Thatch was still there, Ace looked a little weak, leaning on the guardrail, panting. Teach on the other side didn't look good, as he and the others were all carried back. Whitebeard suddenly frowned. What happened? Is that pirate group that strong? On the side, Ace calmed down and said, Dad, we encountered Marine's new admiral. Black Dragon. Josie confirmed. Waiting for Ace, Satsu's sure. Whitebeard, Josie and other members of the White group were all surprised. Is that kid admiral so powerful? Saki said angrily. This encounter made me sure that Marine's announcement to the outside world is not watery at all.
This kid admiral's defense is really strong. Ace and I worked together, but in the end we only caused the other party some superficial injuries.
Josie, Beasta and everyone else in the White group were secretly surprised. They knew the strength of Ace and Thatchy. The two attacks only caused the Black Dragon to suffer skin injuries, which was enough to prove the opponent's terrifying defense. Whitebeard, who was above him, raised his eyebrows slightly, obviously also surprised. It seems that the new admiral is a defensive player like Diamond Josie. A squad leader analyzed. The opponent's strength lies in his devil fruit ability? Or is it hockey? Josie asked curiously.
His own powerful defense comes from the shining fruit, so he is also known as the Whitebeard pirate's strongest shield.
No, there is a high probability that the opponent will not use hockey, because he has not been seen using hockey in the whole process.
The Black Dragon can resist Ace and I's attacks all thanks to his physical defense.
As soon as Saki said this, he caused a commotion. Relying solely on physical defense? Josie was surprised. Is this guy a monster? Compared to Kaido of the Beast's strongest biological physique, right? Some members of the White group gasped. At this time, Ace said with a lingering fear on his face. Actually, the opponent's defense is strong, but there's nothing to be afraid of, because the opponent's attack power is not strong. The reason why he is in such a mess is because that kid has a very weird ability. He can absorb our armament hockey. Before the surprised Bai Tuan people could speak, Blackbeard on the side added. I can feel that after absorbing other people's haki, that guy's own strength has also increased. Everyone in the Whitebeard Pirates was shocked. Absorbing other people's haki is weird enough, but can you also increase your own power? What's happening here? Everyone looked at their father, seeking answers from the man who had been wandering on the sea for many years. Whitebeard was also unable to understand. This is the first time in my life that I have heard of. It seems that the kid from Magma Kid's family can become an admiral, which is something in itself. Josie and other captains agree that the fourth admiral should not be underestimated. But even if this is the case, next time we encounter him, we must find his place, Josie said, clenching his fists. Whitebeard laughed loudly. Of course. Let this new admiral know that there will be a price to pay for attacking our Whitebeard pirates.
At this moment, Marco fluttered his blue wings like flames and fell back onto the splint.
Immediately reported. Dad, I went out this time and found a devil fruit. After the report was completed, Marco noticed the situation of Team Ace and Thatch, and looked surprised. What happened? Naval Headquarters Marineford. After a period of sea voyage, Shane and Momosagi finally returned to Naval Headquarters. Marshall's mansion. Seeing that only one Momosagi returned, Akainu couldn't help but frown and asked, "Where's that guy Shane?" Momosagi handed the devil fruit to Sengoku and said he was too lazy to come over. Akainu immediately blushed. This little bastard. Sengoku, who was at the top, didn't care too much, but smiled and said, "This mission was completed perfectly, and there was no damage. It seems that the whole process went very smoothly." Momosagi immediately shook his head. We encountered Fire Fist Ace and Sazi. The reason why there were no battle losses is because only the Black Dragon Admiral took action. With his powerful defense and ability to absorb armament haki, he defeated Whitebeard's two major divisions.
Sengoku and others looked confused when they heard this.
They can understand it, but how can Shane absorb haki? Ads by Bid Gear Chapter 15 is absorbing haki an innate method? No one was surprised by Shane's strong defense, but as for Shane's ability to absorb haki, everyone is confused. How can this guy still absorb haki? Why didn't you say it before? Especially Akainu, he was at a loss and his eyes were as wide as Tongling's. Didn't his son tell him about this? With his hand in hand, Sengoku asked the doubts of everyone present. Momosagi, what is the specific situation? Did Shane tell me? Momosagi was hesitant to speak and looked at Akainu out of the corner of his eye. Akainu raised his eyebrows. What's going on? What are you looking at me for? I don't know anything. After pondering for a few seconds, Akainu said directly, Momosagi, what did Shane say? Momosagi heard this and no longer hesitated. Shane said that his ability to absorb haki is innate. As soon as these words came out, everyone present looked at Akainu. Born with? I've never seen Akainu have such a method. Akainu's face turned dark and he cursed. Don't listen to this kid's nonsense. If you don't want to say it, don't say it. What nonsense are you born with? First, Sengoku coughed dryly to resolve the awkward atmosphere. There's a high probability that Shane doesn't want to reveal it to us, so that's fine. Everyone has their own secrets, their own opportunities. After saying that, the smile on Sengoku's face increased. Sakazuki, your little devil is getting more and more excited about his growth. Shane's fourth admiral's gold content is getting higher and higher. Being able to absorb haki can restrain almost all the top experts. Garp sighed with emotion. He is famous in this sea for his physical skills in haki, and he admires haki's ability to suppress all bells and whistles. Unexpectedly, haki would have a nemesis now. Yeah, I really want to see with my own eyes how Shane sucks haki. Aokiji was very curious about this. Aokiji is extremely curious about this ability to absorb haki. If I can also learn this move, wouldn't it mean that no one can resist my Ice Fruit ability? Aokiji's Ice Fruit ability is difficult to use against strong players. The main reason is because the opponent's haki can resist it. If you can also absorb the opponent haki, then your freezing ability will directly become a god. Kizaru didn't think that much. In short, the more amazing and powerful Shane is, the happier he is. Because in this way, he can fish better. Anyway, Kizaru has no pursuit of fame and fortune. Sengoku and others were amazed while asking Momosagi for more details, and finally asked Momosagi to go back and write a report and submit it. Any contact with the four emperors must be reported to the five elders. At the same time, after returning to the headquarters, Shane started looking for a place to bask in the sun, and reminders kept ringing in his head. Super defense. +2, +2, +2. Shane just felt comfortable and lighthearted without any tasks. He enjoyed this quiet feeling of time very much. Holy place Marijoy. In the meantime, the five elders have received the report submitted by Sengoku. Seeing that the report said that Shane only suffered superficial injuries under the joint attack of Ace and Sazi, the five elders were not too surprised. Gellinger's full strength only caused a few breaks in Shane's defense. Fire Fist and Sazi wanted to break through Shane's defense. It was simply a dream. Elder Nasushiro sneered, and all the elders nodded in agreement. Ever since Giringer's blow, the elders had become more confident in Shane's defense. Among the Whitebeard pirates, the only one who can cause harm to Shane is Whitebeard, Elder Mars said with a smile. At this time, Satan, who was holding the report, unexpectedly said, The other 5 elders all looked at him curiously. What's the problem, Sardan? One of the 5 elders asked. Sardan looked at the elders and said with an incredulous look on his face, The report says that Shane has used a new ability. He's able to absorb other people's hockey, absorb hockey. The other elders came up in surprise and looked at the report. When it was confirmed that the report indeed stated that Shane had absorbed hockey from Ace and others, the 5 elders looked surprised. Shane actually has such tricks. Why didn't he show it before? The 5 elders couldn't understand why Sengoku didn't report this when he first came to the Holy Land. Isn't Sengoku too sloppy? Elder Nasushiro felt dissatisfied. Being able to absorb hockey is an incredible ability.
The other elders all agreed, if Sengoku had said that Shane would absorb hockey's methods.
In their eyes, Shane's value will be greater, and they will not allow Geiringer to slash with all his strength. This kind of ability is unique. Some of the top players in the world rely on Devil Fruit, others rely on hockey. Devil Fruit has powerful abilities, but it has many shortcomings and is restrained by hockey, seawater and seastone. Only hockey has no means of restraint. This is also where Roger is powerful, he is unparalleled in hockey.
And now Shane can absorb armament hockey, which means hockey also has a nemesis.
Fortunately, Shane resisted Geiringer's full blow, otherwise our world government would have lost a special fighting force. Elder Peter exhaled slightly and said. The other elders nodded slightly, but the matter was over, and Shane was fine. Sartain recalled the report in his hand and said with a smile, Shane's appearance will give us a better space to perform. Let our world government become even more powerful.
At this moment, the CP spy requested a meeting. The 5 elders put down their reports, suppressed the joy on their faces, and returned to dignity and solemnity before letting the CP spies in. He ran. Who entered the scene was CP0. The 3 of them were all wearing long white clothes and had strange white masks on their faces.
Sardan didn't say much, and asked directly in a deep voice, What's the matter?
The CP spy in the middle walked out and said in a deep voice, Elder Saint Satan, we have received news that the original Don Quixote family, Doflamingo, met with the Golden Emperor to expand sales channels for assembly fruits.
Ads by Bid Gear Chapter 16 New Mission, Deterrence Doflamingo. After hearing the news, the 5 elders originally became somber because of Shane's joy. Elder Nasoro turned to look at Elder Sardan and said, Satan, we can no longer let Doflamingo do whatever he wants. But that guy knows too many secrets. If it is not handled properly, hundreds of years of world government efforts will be in vain, another elder said helplessly. We can't let him trade with DeSolo. For a moment, the 5 elders fell into silence, feeling a headache.
It is indeed necessary to prevent the 2 parties from reaching a deal, otherwise with DeSolo's financial resources, he will soon be able to form a powerful army.
Everyone, in order not to directly involve the world government, I think it's better to let Marine come forward first, Elder Sardan said to everyone. Let's see if Sengoku has any good ideas. After all, he is also the resourceful general in the army. A few days later, Naval Headquarters, at the training ground, Momosagi smiled at Shane and said, Shane, your battle with Fire Fist and Sazi has improved your prestige in the army a lot. It can be said that now your new admiral is the star of this department. Besides, your substantive achievements have made the voices questioning you become smaller and smaller. Beside, Shane was lying on a beach chair and playing games. Regarding Momosagi's announcement, Shane simply said, Oh. He didn't care at all. Momosagi looked helpless when he saw this. If it were him, he would definitely be very happy. And why is this kid so calm? Are you so indifferent to fame and fortune? Are you sober in the world? After adjusting his mood, Momosagi suddenly asked curiously, By the way, Shane, can you really tell me, are you really practicing? Your unique cultivation method has now become a great spectacle in this department. Many generals from the branch came here because of the reputation. Shane nodded casually, I'm really practicing. Momosagi pouted, honestly, she didn't believe it at all. After all, it's too ridiculous, okay? Will you become stronger by being in the sun? But if it's not true, and Shane just basks in the sun and plays games all day without practicing, how did he become so strong? Momosagi is so envious. How great would it be if I could also bask in the sun and become stronger? Then she doesn't have to practice so hard, just like Shane, practice while playing games. Even playing and practicing at the same time. The more Momosagi thinks about it, the more envious he becomes. Why is there such a big gap between people? At this moment, the T-Dolphin stepped forward. Seeing Momosagi squatting next to Shane, he was extremely envious, jealous and hateful towards Shane. Since the last mission, Momosagi has been following Shane. Chado really wanted to hit Shane with a knife, but after thinking about it, he probably couldn't do it.
Thinking of this, Chado suddenly felt frustrated.
At this time, Momosagi spotted the T-Dolphin and raised his eyebrows. What are you doing here? Momosagi's tone was completely different from the tone he had just spoken to Shane. This made the T-Dolphin feel even more frustrated. What a sin. Why are the gaps between people so big? His voice was low. Kaido. The marshal asked me to summon you for a meeting. Headquarters, conference room, After Momoshiki and Cha-Do arrived, most of the senior executives were already seated. Looking up, Sengoku frowned when he didn't see Shane. Akainu's expression also changed slightly, and he cursed in his mind. What kind of plane is this kid doing again? He had a bad feeling in his heart. Where's Shane? Akainu asked directly. Everyone else also looked at Momoshiki and the T-Dolphin curiously. Momoshiki and Itago looked at each other, and then the former took out a phone bug.
Sengoku, Akainu and the others looked confused, not understanding what Momoshiki and the T-Dolphin were doing with their phone bugs.
Only Kizaru's eyes flashed under his toad glasses. Could it be that? Soon the phone rang with Shane's voice. Marshal, father, I'm here. I'll just have a meeting with you. Sengoku, Garp and other generals were dumbfounded. How could there be such a meeting? Akainu looked angrily. Shane, get lousy over here for a meeting. Among the crowd, only Kizaru and Aokiji were dull. The former said that he had wanted to do this for a long time, while the latter said in his heart that he had learned. This meeting is mainly focused on the issue of 7 warlords of the Sea Doflamingo, Sengoku said solemnly. We must stop the deal between 7 warlords of the Sea Doflamingo and Desolo without using force. No, the Rear Admiral leaders were all curious as to why they couldn't be stopped by force. Regarding this, Sengoku did not reveal much, but simply said that it was because of Doflamingo's special identity.
As for what transactions were blocked, Sengoku did not disclose much. This is something only senior executives can know. Although there are only key personnel on site, some people have limited authority. In short, this mission is to find a way to make Doflamingo voluntarily terminate the transaction. Sengoku rubbed his eyebrows.
He also had a headache. It is really difficult not to use force to shock this.
Sengoku glanced at everyone present and asked the generals present to think about their ideas.
However, the 3 admirals didn't have any good ideas, and even the chief staff officer shook his head helplessly. She let out a breath and said, I have been dealing with Doflamingo for many years, and I understand his character best. If he doesn't feel that his life is in danger, he will never give in. Simple shock will have no effect at all. On Shane's side, he was still playing games and basking in the sun at the training ground, completely ignoring this task. Putting aside the issue that I just want to be a salted fish, let's just say that this task is mainly to help the world government, let alone take care of it. However, at this moment, the system voice in my mind sounded. Open black lens bracket task. End the SMLIE fruit trade between Doflamingo and Desolo. Complete this task to get generous rewards. Close black lens bracket. When Shane heard this, he was not at all happy about coming to the mission to get the reward, only sad that he could not continue to live in peace for years. To be honest, he didn't even want to do system tasks, but he was afraid that if the task failed, no new tasks would appear in the future. Simply, Shane put down the game console, picked up the phone next to him and said, Marshal, I have a way to terminate Doflamingo's transaction. Ads by Bid Gear Chapter 17. Why does the Black Dragon appear in the same way as celestial dragons? The phone bug on the conference table relayed Shane's words. All the generals present looked at it in surprise. After seeing that it was a phone bug, many people still felt weird. This has never happened before. In fact, everyone did not take Shane into consideration, which is why he used a phone bug to attend the meeting and Sengoku did not force him to come. Shane has strength, but after all, he is just a kid. He is inexperienced and most likely won't have any good ideas. However, now that he took the initiative to ask for help, everyone was naturally surprised. Shane. At this time, Akainu's voice sounded. After seeing the phone bug, Akainu resisted the urge to beat his son to death and emphasized the difficulty of this mission. We cannot use force in this mission. Otherwise, we people wouldn't need to have such a headache. You are a new admiral and don't know anything about Doflamingo. Are you sure there is no problem? Sengoku nodded slightly, fully agreeing with Akainu's words. No problem, no problem. I know all this. Otherwise I wouldn't come forward. The phone bug conveyed Shane's words. Everyone present looked at Sengoku for a moment. Do you want to hand over the task to Shane? Sengoku, who was the leader, also fell into deep thought, and finally said, Shane, what I say next is very important. You can reconsider it after listening to it. This mission is very important. Once it develops in one of the bad directions, the reputation of the world government will be discredited, and the responsibility it needs to bear is unimaginable. Are you sure you want to go next? The phone bug made a Shane expression and said, No problem, Marshal. Okay. The Marshal immediately agreed and decided that Shane would be responsible for the task. The trading day is coming, and time is running out. None of the other generals present have a good idea. Since Shane said there is one, let him try it. Although the other party is a brat, he is still an admiral after all. However, Sengoku still repeatedly warned Shane to be careful. Afterwards, Sengoku left the meeting room and returned to the Marshal's mansion to inform the 5 elders of the candidates decided by the meeting. Between rights. When the 5 elders learned that the person in charge of this mission was Shane, the new admiral, they all frowned.
Elder Sarden said, the difficulty of this mission is that once the situation gets out of control, it will have a huge impact on the world government. Are you sure there is no problem, Shane?
On the side, Elder Mars said quietly, to put it bluntly, I don't think highly of Shane. We appreciate his talent and ability, but he is just a brat after all. Opposite the phone bug, Sengoku was also helpless. Other generals have no good solution, as long as Shane asks for help. After a pause, Sengoku said, Elder, of course I have taken your concerns into consideration.
But although Shane is a child, he is not as miserable as we thought. A few days ago, Shane went to New World to trade and embezzled 100 million belly. Sengoku told the 5 elders what happened with Shane before.
This surprised the 5 elders. Is this an operation that a kid can do? If I hadn't seen that brat with my own eyes, I would have thought Shane was an old fool, Elder Mars said in surprise. In that case, let's give it to Shane to try, Elder Sarton said.
But in order to prevent the situation from getting worse, let's ask CP spy agent Stussy to go with us.
At this time, Lu Chi and others have not yet become CP0. Understood, Elder, Sengoku responded. I will continue to give more instructions to Shane. At this point, the mission finally fell to Shane, and Stussy went to Dressrosa together. Dressrosa. In the main hall, Doflamingo raised the red wine in his hand and said to DeSolo with a smile on his face. Golden Emperor, congratulations on our cooperation. Opposite, DeSolo, who was sitting on a single sofa chair, also raised the red wine glass in his hand. Joke, when can we deliver the goods next? DeSolo is extremely looking forward to this. As long as he gets the SMLIE fruit, he can start to form a powerful army. Now that we have an army, do we still need to be shackled by the world government? Still need to pay heavenly gold? DeSolo desperately desires power. Delivery is available now, DeSolo. Doflamingo's smile grew brighter. The deal with this guy DeSolo is absolutely worth it. This guy is rich and generous. I don't want Kaido of the Beasts at all, and I still default on my payments from time to time. Although he and DeSolo had conflicts before, the past has passed. DeSaro, come with me to the underground port now. Doflamingo stood up and said to DeSolo. However, at this moment, a guard quickly walked in and said to Doflamingo. Young master, the Marine Admiral Black Dragon wants to see you. Marine. Doflamingo muttered. It's unexpected, but it's reasonable.
On the side, DeSolo frowned slightly. Joke, how do you plan to deal with it?
It is foreseeable that Marine appears to stop this transaction. Doflamingo chuckled and said, since Marine Admiral is here in person, we naturally have to go and receive him. Hee hee ha ha. Then Doflamingo said with a nonchalant expression. 5 elders can't do anything to me, let alone an admiral? DeSaro, do you want to come with us? I am very curious about this new admiral. DeSolo sneered, this is natural, I am also extremely interested in this new admiral.
Let me see what qualifications this kid has to make Marine promote him to admiral.
At this moment, a clear and beautiful voice sounded. No need for an interview, we're already in, Doflamingo. Doflamingo, DeSolo and others immediately turned around after hearing this. I saw Stussy walking in. Beside her, there were several CPs carrying a wooden sedan with a young man leaning on it, followed by a group of Marines. DeSolo was surprised. Celestial dragons, ahead, Doflamingo said with a strange look on his face. This is not celestial dragons.
He is the Black Dragon Admiral. Doflamingo has seen Shane's information and has naturally seen his photos.
Ads by Bid Gear Chapter 18. Just absorb hockey, it's not about taking action. Everywhere belt bag 1L. Lululemon HK 380 Hong Kong dollars phone, keys, wallet. Keep them close. This is the Black Dragon Admiral. DeSolo's expression became subtle. My first impression is that I feel the same as those trash from Celestial Dragons. Can such a kid be an admiral? Sure enough, Marine has long since decayed. All around, the Don Quixote family members had strange expressions.
Black Dragon Admiral, what is this? Everyone present saw the Black Dragon Admiral for the first time, and they all had the same evaluation.
Compared with other admirals, the Black Dragon is extremely ordinary and does not have the oppressive feeling of other admirals at all. Doflamingo didn't worry about this, and said with a smile, Admiral is here in person, so we should go over to greet him. Why did you come here by yourself? How presumptuous is that? The largest arms dealer has perfected his speaking skills.
Shane didn't pay any attention to Doflamingo's polite words.
He raised his hand to let the CP agent put him down, and then said dissatisfied, your skills in lifting the sedan are not good, my back hurts from sitting. All the CP agents looked at each other, they were not professionals in doing this. On Doflamingo's side, his brows furrowed slightly, and the veins on his forehead wriggled slightly. This kid admiral has no imposing manner, but he has quite a big air. Completely ignoring his own greeting, after Shane finished complaining, he looked at Doflamingo and said straight to the point. Doflamingo, no more polite words are necessary. I'm here to ask you to terminate the deal with DeSolo. In order for both of us not to cause trouble to each other, let's terminate the deal now. Doflamingo was stunned at first. Then he laughed, are those old guys from 5 Elders old fools? You would actually send such a brat to stop me? Since I dared to trade with DeSolo, I am naturally fully prepared. Black Dragon Admiral, although you are a new admiral, you should know what happened to me before coming here, right? I don't just have the identity of 7 warlords of the sea. I also have many identities, and the forces involved behind it are even more unimaginable. Do you think those people will bring me down? All around, members of the Don Quixote family are smiling. Not to mention Black Dragon, the new admiral who doesn't have any momentum or intimidation. Even if they face the veteran admiral, they have full confidence. My young master has a special status and the interests involved are complicated. The world government will never let him fall.
On the side, Disolo also looked unconcerned. It is the only independent country recognized by the world government. The amount of heavenly gold it pays to the world government every year is the total amount of several participating countries combined. Beside Shane, Stussy frowned. She originally thought that Marine would have some clever ideas when choosing Shane as the new admiral, but she didn't expect it to develop like this. There is absolutely nothing clever about it. Since he directly planned to use the power of Admiral to intimidate him, it would be better to let this brat's father come.
Everyone will still be wary of Akainu, a ruthless person, and the effect will be better. Opposite him, the smile on Doflamingo's face became brighter and arrogant. He put his things on the table, which was actually a threat and intimidation to Shane. Black Dragon Admiral, if I don't listen, what can you do to me? Everyone present, the Don Quixote family, and Disolo looked proud. Both of them have huge interests linked to the world government, so they are very confident.
The hawks and dogs of the world government will never attack them.
However, no one saw in Shane the anger and helplessness that they and others wanted to see. From start to finish, the new admiral looked exactly the same as when he walked in the door. Shane touched his nose and said nothing. Instead, he glanced at everyone present, and finally his eyes rested on Torbil, and then he walked towards Torbil. All around, Doflamingo, Disolo and others had strange expressions, unable to understand what Shane was planning to do. Torbil himself had an instinct to retreat slightly, but he didn't feel any pressure from Shane, so he simply stood still. Shane came up and smiled lightly at Torbil. Come, let's shake hands. Torbil looked confused. Shaking hands? Why? He instinctively looked at his young master, and saw Doflamingo looking equally surprised and confused. Not to mention Doflamingo, many people present could not understand it. Stussy was almost speechless to the extreme. At this time, why are you still shaking hands? Shane ignored the reactions around him and continued. When you meet for the first time, you should always say hello properly. The Don Quixote family members were speechless. Especially Doflamingo, he just said hello to Shane. This guy completely ignored him, and now he is saying this? However, he was surprised, and Torbil still reached out and shook hands with Shane. The moment he held it, Shane immediately began to absorb Torbil's haki. The rewards from the previous mission doubled Shane's absorption speed, which was extremely fast. The increasing improvement of superpower began to appear in my mind. Tory Bolton felt something bad. He looked horrified and wanted to break free, but found that his body was starting to feel weak. Trying to break free now is just a dream. Young master, hurry up and save me. The Black Dragon Admiral is absorbing my haki. The members of the Don Quixote family and Disolo watched as Torbil became visibly exhausted and weak, and their expressions changed dramatically.
Disolo's eyes were beating wildly. Absorb haki. How could the Black Dragon have such ability? Joke. Didn't this kid become an admiral because of his defense?
Doflamingo was also surprised. I just learned that the Black Dragon can absorb haki. The cadres around were surprised and anxious. Young master, what should we do now? A cadre asked anxiously. Doflamingo was slightly annoyed, but he didn't expect the Black Dragon to dare to take action.
His eyes under the ink were cold, and his tone was sullen as he said, Black Dragon, are you planning to let the situation get out of control?
Behind Shane, Stussy only felt novel. It turns out that the news that the Black Dragon Admiral has a strange way to absorb haki is true. Seeing that Torbil's face had begun to turn pale and he was obviously about to collapse, the CP agents all took a deep breath. Terrible. But Stussy immediately came to her senses. Now was not the time to be shocked by this. She quickly said in a deep voice, Black Dragon Admiral, stop it.
The five elders have repeatedly emphasized not to take action lightly.
Shane did not let go of Torbil, but asked calmly. Stussy, I'm just absorbing haki, doesn't it count as taking action? It won't endanger life. Ads by Bid Gear Chapter 19. Brother Ming was trembling. Why is this guy so tough? Stussy was speechless for a moment. Isn't this action? After thinking about it, Stussy felt that it didn't count. Absorbing haki will not endanger Torbil's life. At most, it will make him unable to collapse and lie in bed for a few days.
It doesn't take a few days. In the case of return of life, it is estimated that it only takes one night. To put it this way, it's not too much. Shane ignored Stussy and continued to absorb Torbil's haki. Reminders of increasing superpower experience points kept jumping in my mind.
Superpower. Plus 100, plus 100. Looking at the prompts in his mind, Shane was quite dissatisfied. When the speed of absorbing haki was not doubled before, absorbing an ace would give you 100 experience points. Now that it is doubled, absorbing Torbil still costs 100 experience points. This guy is too weak. Toriba, who was being held, frantically tried to break free, but he was not a combat player to begin with. In addition, haki continued to refuse to absorb. which also caused him to gradually collapse. The most important thing is that Shane's super strength has reached the intermediate level, reaching the level of Vice Admiral. For example, Flying Squirrel, the Vice Admiral, is powerful enough to cut a Sea King's in half. Young master, please save me quickly. Torbol's face looked as horrified as he had never encountered such a situation before. Feeling the loss of my own hockey, I felt deep fear. At this moment, even though Shane was still an ordinary young man, he did not bring any sense of shock or oppression. In the eyes of Torbol, he is already a big devil. Terrible, Doflamingo is very protective of his family members, and people like Torbol have grown up with him. Black Dragon. Doflamingo was furious. You didn't listen to a word of what Lousy said before. In that case, don't blame me for being rude. A cold light flashed under his sunglasses, and Doflamingo raised his hands and waved them down at Shane. 5 fingers control 5 invisible threads, but with the blessing of Doflamingo Hockey, the 5 threads appear in 5 different colors. 5 color strings. The threads were like 5 sharp knives cutting away at Shane. However, the slash, which was enough to cut the building into several sections, did not cause any damage after it struck Shane. DeSolo raised his eyebrows and cursed. Joke, what are you doing? Attack with all your strength. Doflamingo's expression changed and he couldn't help but curse back. I didn't hold anything back. It was the Black Dragon that resisted my attack. DeSolo was surprised when he heard this. Was he resisted by the Black Dragon? The other party didn't do anything, right? He didn't even use Hockey to resist Joke's attack? After working together for so many years, DeSolo knows the strength of Doflamingo. This guy has all the Conqueror's Hockey, and his fruit abilities have been developed to the ultimate level and have awakened. However, even so, he was still resisted. Is the new Admiral Black Dragon's defense so powerful?
Young master, hurry up and save me. Torbol's voice became weaker and weaker.
Doflamingo's expression was extremely ugly. He had underestimated the Black Dragon before.
Since my attack alone is ineffective, let's attack together.
Torbol must be saved. On the side, other family members were ready to take action, and the Don Quixote family was quite united. Diamante took the lead, using the ability of the flying fruit to make her long knife as soft as silk, and then wrapped Shane. He originally planned to use the restraint force to force Shane to stop, but it was difficult to do so. No, this guy is as hard as steel. There is no way to completely restrain him. I will restrict the Black Dragon's movements first, and then you will attack together. Diamante growled at everyone. Diamante, I object to this approach. This is not how a real man should behave. Senor bit the pipe. It's already this time, so don't talk about your true masculinity. Torbol was furious. When was this? His condition was getting worse and worse, and he almost fainted. Everyone in the Don Quixote family stopped talking nonsense and took action one after another. Doflamingo's string fruit, Pika's stone fruit ability. The cadres all used their special skills. On the side, Stussy's expression changed slightly and showed worry. Is there really no problem? The situation has now developed to the point where members of the Don Quixote family are taking action. How to calm down the situation now?
Also, can Shane withstand the successive attacks from the Don Quixote family members?
Shane still held on to Torbol, letting the attacks from the Don Quixote family members come like a storm. And in this heavy rain, Shane was like a solid boulder, completely unmoved. At first, Don Quixote family members were full of confidence. Strong defense. Then go together and see how long you can resist. However, as time goes by, their mood changes drastically. Are we attacking people? Diamante felt powerless and completely unable to break through her defenses. Doflamingo's heart stirred up a storm. Although he knew that Shane's defensive power was real in Virgo, he didn't expect it to be so outrageous. It couldn't be shaken at all. Their attacks were like soft asbestos hitting the stone. At this time, Torbol was no longer alive, and Shane let him go. Torbol collapsed to the ground like a soft candy. Doflamingo and other members of the Don Quixote family looked extremely sad, angry, but also felt powerless.
Shane's defensive power is so amazing. Even without any shock, it still makes Doflamingo and others feel a strong sense of oppression.
It's really... Shane glanced at Torbol lying on the ground and sighed. Hockey is too weak, he needs more training. Speaking of which, I'm helping you test your own hockey strength. You have to pay me afterwards, Doflamingo. Doflamingo was not well, and the Don Quixote family members were also angry. Shane ignored their reactions at all and murmured as if to himself. Who should I check on hockey next? As soon as he finished speaking, Shane locked onto Pika, whose pupils instantly dilated. Ads by Bid Gear Chapter 20. Brother Ming and DeSolo joined forces to unleash a double awakening. When Pika heard that she was next, she immediately backed away. I don't need a test, he said in a high-pitched voice. Shane immediately sneered. Pika, your voice is very nice, stop talking. Pika didn't dare to say anything back. When he saw Shane running towards him, he immediately planned to use his own ability to run away. Want to run? Shane took a lunge and grabbed Pika with one hand. Although Shane did not activate the speed attribute. But since speed represents strength, then strength can also represent speed. Shane's intermediate, super strength, exploded in full force, and he forcefully pulled out Pika, who had half of his body melted into the ground. Then he started to absorb Haki like crazy. Pika felt Haki's loss, her pupils trembled wildly, and she began to struggle desperately. Let go! Let me go! On the sidelines, Doflamingo saw another one of his cadres being arrested and was completely furious. Black Dragon. If you dare to continue taking action, Lousy swears that you will pay the price. Shane corrected. I'm helping test Haki. Test your uncle, Doflamingo yelled. Attack Shane again. This time Shane is not as relaxed as before. Pika is a pure combat player, and his strength is several times that of Torbull. Under the Don Quixote family's attack and Pika's own frantic struggle, Pika almost broke free. After taking turns to attack, Doflamingo began to pant. Shane. Doflamingo murmured in his heart. At this time, the members of the Don Quixote family thoroughly felt the value of Shane as an admiral. The real Marine Admiral has the combat power to suppress all the villains in the sea. In that case, don't blame us. Everyone who kills you, I will bear all the consequences. Doflamingo doesn't intend to show mercy at all. Upon seeing this, Stussy immediately reminded. Doflamingo, are you crazy? The Black Dragon is not only admiral, but also a descendant of Akainu. Doflamingo was extremely furious. He said in a low voice word by word. Lousy will bear the wrath of Akainu.
As soon as he finished speaking, the surrounding things began to change, turning into a white ocean. Awaken. Stussy's heart skipped a beat. The joke is about to get serious. I cursed crazily in my heart.
All members of the Don Quixote family tried their best, and the situation was made uncontrollable by Shane. She doesn't even know how to stop the current situation now. Everyone in the Don Quixote family also began to use their strongest killing moves.
Pika, who was caught by Shane, began to use his devil fruit ability.
In an instant, the entire hall began to tremble violently. After Pika used his devil fruit ability, the main hall began to transform into his body, and at the same time brought Shane into the air. A huge stone giant appeared in the sky above Dressrosa, which immediately frightened the residents and caused them to flee. Pika didn't care about this at all, raised the huge stone palm and started to attack Shane crazily. The other members of the Don Quixote family also directed their killing moves at Shane. Doflamingo directly uses 12-bullet God Kill, his strongest attack. Countless silk threads formed something like a spear, and the tip seemed to be rendered black by ink. As the black thunder exploded, a blow that seemed to be able to pierce the sky struck Shane. Shane. Even if you cry and beg for mercy, Lousy will not let you go, Doflamingo laughed wantonly. He was already thinking of various ways to torture Shane in his mind. Shane turned his head and glanced at Doflamingo with a calm expression.
He has absolute confidence in his top-level super defense.
In the original book, Luffy used the fourth gear to defeat Doflamingo. However, in the fourth gear, Luffy could not break through Kaido's defense at first, and was even instantly killed by Kaido. Now my level is 4 Emperors. Under the gazes, all Doflamingo's attacks were poured on Shane. The horrific attack caused violent vibrations in the air, and the aftermath formed a hurricane. The vibrations spread to the entire island and even to several kilometers of offshore waters. Pika's stone giant began to collapse, stones continued to fall from the air, and smoke and dust flew everywhere. Did you make it? This is a concern for members of the Don Quixote family. The wind picked up, the thick smoke dispersed, and soon everyone could clearly see the scene inside. Pika Heron was still caught, and at this time he was already in a daze. The Don Quixote family couldn't stand it anymore, their expressions were full of horror. Still unscathed. How is it possible? Young master, what should we do now? Members of the Don Quixote family have fallen into a haze, shrouded in a deep sense of powerlessness. Doflamingo's arrogance no longer exists, only the storm in his heart. At this moment, a figure appeared in his mind, Kaido of the Beasts. Doflamingo felt a little timid, but he quickly gritted his teeth and suppressed it. He must not show weakness, otherwise he will become Marine's tool. Become a true eagle dog. Doflamingo glanced at DeSolo and shouted, "Come with DeSolo." The words interrupted DeSolo's shock, and he couldn't help but be surprised. Joke, is the Marine Admiral's defense so terrifying? Doflamingo's eyes twitched. If the Marine Admiral had such defenses, would the Age of Discovery continue until now? Shane's defense has reached the level of 4 Emperors, okay. Stop talking nonsense, hurry up and come together. DeSolo swallowed. To be honest, he didn't want to do it. However, in order to be able to trade devil fruit and form an army, he gritted his teeth and decided to go. Soon a golden giant appeared, rushed directly towards Shane, and then bombarded Shane wildly. FK. Die, die, die. The ground sunken, the earth cracked, and the sound was loud. But even if DeSolo joins in, he still can't hurt Shane at all.
As time goes by, everyone's hearts are falling further and further towards the bottom. It doesn't work at all.
At this moment, Shane broke away from everyone's attacks and came to Stussy's side.
When DeSolo saw this, he was immediately happy. He looked at Doflamingo and said, "It seems that the Black Dragon is afraid. This means we are not far from breaking through the defense." The corners of Doflamingo's mouth also turned up, it's very likely. However, the next second, Shane's words made Disolo's heart feel like ice. Just listen to him asking Stussy. If you can't attack Doflamingo, then you can attack Disolo, right? Stussy pondered and then said. Although Disolo has no special identity, it is best. Shane stopped listening at all and said calmly, that's okay. There is one more thing he didn't say, that is, superpower can break through soon. The next target is Disolo. Comma. Ads by Bid Gear.